Hey guys, it's Gala Avery from the Video Archives podcast. While we're shuffling tapes and gearing up for season 2, Quentin and Roger have sent me on a mission all around Los Angeles and beyond to talk with filmmakers, photographers, VHS collectors, and other interesting characters. What are we going to be talking about? Well, that's up for my guests to decide. On the Gala show, guests have 30 minutes to talk about whatever topic they want you to know about. Filmmakers like Josh Miller will tell us how he found his tribe, while writers like Larry Karaszewski will let you know what he considers to be a true LA movie. VHS collectors like Connor Holt make an argument for the genre of pirate movies, while writers like Josh Olson are going to let us in on what he considers to be right-wing cinema. Actors like Percy Hines White will share his love of outsider art, while animators and cartoonist Sierra Nielli will reminisce on his experiences of growing up in a Philly pizza shop and how this time in his life influenced him to pick up a pencil. So, join me every Thursday for a new guest with an entirely new topic. The Gala show premieres October 26th, available wherever you get your podcasts. On this episode of the Video Archives podcast, what can you do with one arm? You can shake a man's hand. You can blow your lover a kiss. You can juggle. You can wave goodbye. You can wipe a tear. Maybe, just maybe, you can execute. Quentin and Roger earn the right to take revenge in The One-Armed Executioner. An Interpol agent is out for revenge against the gangsters that cut off his arm and killed his bride. Roger and Quentin discuss the realistic on-screen connection between Franco Guerrero and Jody, how tropes can be done correctly, and the artful sound design of this film. And, as an added bonus, the duo talk about the trailers packaged with this Paragon tape. Next up, we talk sans spoilers about Welcome to Blood City. 5 strangers wake up with no memory in a world that resembles the Wild West. If they can kill 20 other people, they'll become immortal. It's hunt or be hunted in Blood City. Quentin and Roger talk about how the great Jack Palance carries the film, how Keir Dullea breaks his typecasting, and how this premise could easily be remade today. And, lastly, 5 friends get together and decide to rob a bank. The catch? All 5 men are blind. 1976's Blind Rage is a new take on an old genre. 5 blind master killers pull off the most unbelievable heist of all time. But even $15 million won't get them back their sight. Quentin and Roger discuss interesting characters, a unique heist planning sequence, and never-before-seen gadgets. Revenge made them hate the man, but money was their excuse to blast him. It's all going down at the International House of Pancakes, today at Video Archives. I'm Gala Avery, and joining us now, here's Quentin and Roger.
Thank you very much, Gala. I appreciate it. Okay, kill the Bakalov. And hi, I'm Quentin Tarantino.
And I am Roger Avery.
And we're back again with the Video Archives podcast. We've got 3 interesting movies to talk about today that we're both really excited to talk about. So the first film is One-Armed Executioner.
The ultimate in action and adventure. Nothing can stop the One-Armed Executioner. And now, the One-Armed Executioner. Produced and directed by Bobby A. Suarez. One-Armed Executioner, with co-hit Blind Rage, will be playing September 17th and 18th on glorious 35mm film at the New Beverly Cinema, 7165 Beverly Boulevard, Los Angeles, California. For further information, go to thenewbev.com. The New Beverly Cinema, always on film.
And let me explain how this actually kind of came about, because if you've been listening to the show for a little bit, you kind of realize that we've got a certain kind of pattern as far as picking movies. Usually it's not always, but usually it's the most famous, most prestige one is our first film.
That might be like a studio film of some kind, like a big production or something.
Absolutely. And then something fairly comparative works as a companion piece, as the second feature.
A little scene, interesting film.
That's kind of how we go about it. More or less, the more prestige 2 movies are the first one and the second one. And then the idea is the third one is some obscure exploitation oddity or fallen off the track foreign film that we pull from the bowels of the collection.
Yeah.
I have a whole list of different like cool exploitation films that I've heard about, but I've never seen. Because one of the things about the show is I want to pick at least one movie that I haven't seen. That's a big part of the reason to do the show. If I can get two I haven't seen, all the better, but at least one. And so there's a whole group of exploitation films with like cool boxes that always kind of sound neat. And I've never got around to seeing them, but actually watching them with a friend and then having an excuse to do a show on them will be the thing that sets you down to watch them, and it's really kind of cool. And if me and Roger start watching one and it doesn't float our boat or we don't like it, like, okay, fuck this one, so we just take it out, we just throw it out. So One-Armed Executioner has been sitting in that list, that pile, for a while. I almost showed it like 3 different times and I kept yanking it off. And the reason I even know about the damn thing, I know who Bobby Suarez is because he's a Filipino filmmaker who also did the famous film Cleopatra Wong, maybe at the time, the only movie ever made in Singapore. The only they don't have a film industry in Singapore, so one of the only movies they ever made was Cleopatra Wong, and he directed it. I'm a big fan of it. Anyway, as part of Paragon Home Video's opening credits, for years they always had the One-Armed Executioner trailer on the front of their tapes. And
amongst a couple of other their catalog titles.
And it's a real Paragon Home Video trailer. And what it means is it's not the real trailer. It's just like cut together scenes from the from the movie.
Done by an intern, probably.
Yeah, probably done by, exactly. And so the thing is, I remember seeing that in the 80s, like, one of these days I'll get around to watching that. So the other day, thinking about this would be good for our third spot, we put it on and we watched it. And me and Roger were so taken with this little revenge-o-matic, this little Filipino exploitation movie. We felt, oh my God, we're watching a genre classic.
Yeah.
We are absolutely watching a genre revenge-o-matic classic. And we decided that it was so special and we enjoyed it. The experience of watching it, we had such a good time. There's problems with it, to be sure. But we had such a good time that we decided that it actually deserved to have the first spot.
Yeah. It deserved to. In watching it, I was like, this is like any other big action movie. Mm-hmm. This holds its own as far as I'm concerned.
Especially if you're a student of revenge-o-matics, this movie absolutely falls into the best of the classics of that genre status. It can sit in a pile with Coffee. It can sit in a pile with Navajo Joe. It can sit in a pile with They Call Her One Eye. It can sit in a pile with Rolling Thunder.
Absolutely.
Death Rides a Horse. Yeah, there's spaghetti Western versions. Some other kung fu things of it. Now, having said all those movies I just mentioned, One-Armed Executioner is definitely the least of them. It's definitely on the bottom of that pile of movies I just listed. But at the same time, it's a really, really strong entry. And to give it even a bit of a hat tip, when it comes to pace, its pace is so strong and moves so fast that really only Coffee and Navajo Joe can compete with it when it comes to pace.
Yeah, it is constantly, it's a freight train. And it's constantly doing audience-pleasing, I don't want to call them tropes, but like standards.
No, well, they are. It absolutely, tropes is the exact word. Yeah. All right, because we've seen the story a zillion times
I just don't want to call them tropes because that makes it sound bad when in the case of this movie in particular.
Well, no, it's how lovingly the tropes are done.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
That makes it so enjoyable.
How seriously they're taken.
And the pace of the film, really, from the moment that the movie starts, it's like greyhounds running across the track the way it gets to its conclusion. But what Roger just said is actually kind of important because one of the things about the movie, it knows what it is. It's a revenge-o-matic, and it does go through the paces. It goes through the tropes that you've seen many, 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 many times before. But it's so charming in the way it does it. It's so charming the way it recreates or almost reinvents these pieces. Now, I will preface this episode on One-Armed Executioner with the caveat that we will be using spoilers. I don't even like to use that word, all right? But we will be talking about the film and all of its plot machinations. It's funny, because if you'd asked me when the show started, would I be worrying about spoilers? I'm like, we're talking about movies that are 40 years old, 50 years old. If they haven't seen them by now, fuck them. But the reality is when we watch them, we do see certain things where, oh no, this could be a surprise. If you didn't know that this was going to happen, this would actually change your view of the film.
And frequently, like the movies you're showing, you may have seen them, but I haven't seen them sometimes. And so they're a surprise to me.
Yeah. And so it's
it'd be really special if it was a surprise.
So we play it by ear, but we kind of err towards the idea that, at the end of the day, even though we're not even recommending movies, we're just talking about them, but if your viewing of it would be better if you, without knowing this piece of plot information, well, then, we err towards that way. On the other hand, I also feel that when it comes to certain subgenres, the mechanics of them are so dyed in the wool that it's ridiculous not to talk about the different tropes.
The familiar beats that you always hit.
The familiar beats and how they did in them, all right? If we're talking about a Jaws ripoff, well, guess what? There's going to be some town. There's going to be some naturalistic monster that's in that town.
There's going to be children in the water.
Yeah, there will probably be some sort of authority figure there who's responsible for it and somebody who's an authority on the given monster. And then at the end, they're going to fucking kill it after it's eaten a whole bunch of people along the way. Now, how they ended up killing it in it, okay, am I really spoiling it for you? Right, to say that they kill the monster? But how they did it compared to how all the other Jaws ripoffs did it could be of interest. And to me, that's kind of how I come from the revenge-o-matic genre. Okay, so I'm going to read the back of the box, which, again, this is a Paragon Home video box, so don't expect much when it comes to the back of it. I'm going to probably have to explain.
Although I have to say that from the front of the box, I was ready to see the movie.
Oh,
the poster is awesome.
But actually, almost all the shit that happens on the box happens in the movie.
Yeah.
And the one-arm executioner looks amazing in it. Okay, so one-arm executioner. Big subtitle, Revenge is Sweet. ... His wife brutally murdered before his eyes. His arm chopped off as a warning. His job, his pride, his confidence are gone. A young Interpol agent's rage for life has but one meaning. Revenge, revenge, and revenge! Running time approximately 90 minutes. Again, like the Paragon, approximately 90 minutes. It's not like we have the technology to tell you exactly how long it is.
Hey, Jimmy, how long is one-armed executioner?
That's approximately an hour and a half.
Okay, put that down. Just put it down. You gotta get those tapes out.
Franco Guerrero, who's the star of the film, who's an action star in the Philippines. Franco Guerrero plays an Interpol agent named Ortega. And part of the thing about Ortega is he's trying to shut down this drug dealer named Edwards, played by a guy named very interesting guy. One of those weird cheap movie performances where first you think the guy's not very good, but then the more you watch it, the more he is a little awkward, but then the more you get used to him, the more you kind of like him until finally, I kind of dig the guy's performance.
Oh, you mean Nigel Hogg?
Yeah, Nigel Hogg.
Nigel Hogg. And actually the credits are super sketchy on this film.
Yeah.
And so it took me a while to figure out, okay, who was that guy? Because he had my favorite line in the movie as a drug kingpin, which was, quote, "Everybody wants to be the king of Shit Hill, but it ain't that easy."
Yeah, that's true.
Everybody wants to be the king of Shit Hill, but it ain't that easy. That was the moment I was like, okay, that's my character. That's the guy I love.
Well, Nigel Hogg, Edwards, he's a pretty terrific bad guy. First, you kind of think he's fat, but then you see him walking around in these Speedos, and you realize, oh, no, he's not fat at all.
He's got like a kind of like what would be like somebody else's head.
Well, he's got a fat head.
Yeah, a fat head.
He's got a fat head, and he's got a fat neck.
And then it pulls back, and he's kind of ripped. I'm like, dude, he's got better abs than I do.
He's almost ripped. He's one of those almost ripped white guys.
Yeah. Like a bear of a...
And he has kind of an Elvis almost kind of quality, like a seedy...
Well, you compared him perfectly to Joe Namath. Was it Joe Namath?
I said, well, he does look a little bit like Joe Namath. Like Joe Namath's like sleazy older brother. We call him Ernie Namath.
Yeah, Ernie Namath.
But who he really looks like, to tell you the truth, is he really looks like the missing Mitchum kid. Yeah, because he actually looks a bit like...
Yeah, Robert, with that chin and the kind of nose.
Exactly. So
the lips that are kind of overly curled.
Yeah, so there's Christopher Mitchum, And then there's Jim Mitchum.
Yeah.
And he really looks like the middle brother between the two Mitchums.
Kind of has a nasty Mitchum mouth.
Yeah, Nigel Mitchum.
Yeah, Nigel Mitchum.
Nigel Mitchum, but that's a weird name. That's a cool name. I'm going to write that down. That's a good name, Nigel Mitchum. Okay, if you see a movie with Nigel Mitchum, you'll know where I got it from.
This is where it happened.
This is
moment.
The origin. The Big Bang right here. Boom. Boom. And an embryo.
The Nigel Mitchum character was born.
The Nigel Mitchum.
Perhaps the most famous character in cinema history.
Boom.
Sounded like he was like a sheep. It's like you were fucking a sheep.
One of the sheep from Rage, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Bleeding out of my nose.
Slobbering all over, just drooling.
But, so Ortega is dealing with his boss, who's actually played by Leopoldo Scolido, who is actually one of the, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he's one of the, in the late 60s, was along with Fernando Poe, was one of the big stars of Filipino cinema. He is, probably his most famous movie is, at least for Westerner audiences, is the war movie The Raiders of Letty Gulf, which is directed by Eddie Romero. And he's the boss in this, and it's cool because it's like,
very realistic. He's a very realistic guy, but with his like weird kind of clothing, his giant collars, and like they're about to go out to a nightclub and do karaoke or something.
I know it's really interesting what passes as professional wardrobe for the Interpol of the Philippines.
I bet that's real in the Philippines.
No, I'm not making fun of them.
In 1981.
No, I'm not saying it's ridiculous as far as like movie production, but they all look like they're going out to barbecues or getting ready to hit yachts, or you go in a nightclub or a bender or a drug bender or something.
Dressed very well. It's like full on like Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah, exactly. With like flowered shirts and like great, cool leisure suits with big wide open collars.
Yeah, what happened to fashion?
Nobody wears dark colors. Everything is like white or light or teal, So Edwards is the big drug dealer, and so Ortega's like, hey, look, let's quit pussyfooting around with these guys. Let's go them, let's shake them up, and let's tell them that we're onto them. So they go and they do a big, they can't really bust the guy really, but they just go to roust him, just shake him up. And it does shake up Edwards up. And Edwards says, okay, well, here's what we got to do. We got to hide this and we got to hide that. But the number one thing we got to do is we got to make an example of that guy Ortega to teach overzealous Interpol agents a lesson of what can happen when you get too nosy.
And there's a really nice kind of setup before this where
you're right.
His boss kind of runs a restaurant.
No, it's not his boss. Okay, but you're right, though.
But he's like another guy who was like an Interpol guy.
I'll tell you exactly what it is.
Whose wife was like...
He's his mentor.
Yeah, he's his mentor. And,
mentor.
That guy's wife, because he was in Interpol, with all the trappings of being a cop, and his wife pulled him away from being it.
We're talking about the mentor character.
The mentor character.
Yeah.
And it's almost like he's who Ramon Ortega, could be if he were to get married to Anne, his... or maybe he's already married to Anne.
Yeah, he's already married. But the situation is like this mentor character was a legend in his own time, kind of Interpol agent. His wife said, look, that's it. If you want to stay with me, I don't want to be worried all the time. You got to quit. So he quits.
Because it's the kind of job you do it until you die.
Yeah. And he quits, but he opens up a big bar, big nightclub bar.
That all the Interpol agents hang out at.
That all the Interpol agents hang out at. No, it's just like the old movie where the cop quits being a cop and he opens a cop bar and all the cops hang out. So Ortega's marrying this white blonde girl named Anne, played by Jody Kay, who's really charming in the film.
She's great.
And so they've just come back from America, where Ortega met her parents.
In San Francisco.
And now they've just come back to Manila, and she's like, oh, no, I had a great time, Ramon meeting my parents, and I had a great time seeing them again, but I'm just so happy to be back in Manila.
Yeah.
And then the mentor character says something like, yes, my wife wanted me to retire and from the force, and I did. And now she's passed on, and I think what would have happened if I had stayed. But then I look around at this wonderful club and I go, hey, this life isn't so bad. What am I worrying about?
It's a great moment.
It's a really good moment.
It's a really wonderful performance that guy gives.
Yeah, that guy's he gives a terrific performance all the way through the whole film. And I don't have his name. So then Ortega goes to the bathroom during this time. And so he starts talking to Anne, and he's like, so really, are you going to be okay with Ramon continuing to be an Interpol agent? And Anne is like, well, what am I going to do? It's like, that's who he is.
Yeah,
you know,
he is. I can't stop him.
I can't stop him from doing that, and I don't want to stop him from doing that, and I want to stop him from being who he is. To take that away from him would be to take away his life. And
she stands by her man and who he is.
And Jody Kay, the woman who's playing it, she's not much of an actress, but you like her. She's a cool character, and she's a cool person playing the character.
In fact, there was a point in the movie, and I think it was a memory that happens later on when they're together on the beach, and he's remembering back. And I was watching it, and I think I turned to you and I said, they are a real couple, because the love that I'm feeling on screen feels real. It feels like they just took a camera out to Big Sur or something and shot a whole bunch of scenes, or probably.
Well, you actually asked me during the thing, you go, are they actually married in real life? And I don't know the answer to that.
But it felt real. It felt real enough.
At the very least, it sounds like they might have had an affair when they were making the movie.
And that is the only thing necessary. Like, you could have had a million other maybe better actresses in that role. But what that actress did, what Jody Kay did, was it actually made me feel the love between them. So that when the ultimate tragedy comes, it hurt. Well, and it hurt bad.
Well, here's the thing about that, though. Yes, everything you just said is true. But you said that from her very first scene.
Oh, yeah.
You just liked her. You just liked her right from the beginning.
Well, one, it was that she stands by him.
Yeah,
And she's just absolutely head over heels, in love with him, does not want to change him, wants him to be him.
And like you said, the two actors are sexy together. It's both romantic and sexy.
And I think the reason I felt that from the beginning was partly the way that she was looking at him in those early restaurant scenes. Like, she was just looking at him, like, adoringly, even. And I found him to be completely attractive in a kind of William Peterson way. James Caan kind of way.
That's what you said. Yeah, exactly.
I was looking at him, I was like, it just reminded me of that kind of, the way that he had those sort of, I don't know what you call that jacket, that's kind of cut off.
Well, I love
he's got all that William Peterson clothing from like To Live and Die in L.A.
Yeah, well, I love his color choices of red and black.
Yeah,
right from the very beginning, he's always like juggling these cool outfits that are like red and black, and like a red sweater with a black leather jacket on top of it.
Well, he's wearing all those kind of like tight red and black clothes in the beginning, and then he loses his arm, and he's got to walk around for the rest of the movie and convince you that he's lost his arm.
Yeah.
And by the way, he's doing, all sorts of kung fu, and he's jumping from, tall buildings, or he's jumping from a rooftop onto the ground with his arm tied behind his back, underneath his clothes, and he's pulling it off.
Oh, he completely
It's convincing. I mean, it is absolutely convincing.
No, you're right. Actually, he wears a bunch of different kind of long, almost like safari outfits.
Yeah.
For a while, but there actually is a point that when he actually goes back to his red and black ensemble, it's like he's found himself again.
Yeah.
Now he's Inspector Ortega again.
The color of blood.
Yeah. So anyway, Edwards sends a bunch of guys over, including this one guy, Jason, played by this fat pig named Peter Cooper.
Oh my God, that guy delivers.
Bear of a man.
Yeah.
All right, the John Milius character.
Yeah.
And then they
John, who is a lovely, kind gentleman.
Yes, exactly.
Compared to this dude.
Let me just rephrase that. Okay. It's not so much that he is the John Milius type, but I can imagine John Milius writing this character.
Right? Completely.
Yeah. The Jason character is definitely a John Milius-esque character.
Yeah. Miliusian?
I would say Milius-esque. There you go. Milius-esque. So these bastards show up at the house, and they tie everybody up, gag everybody, cut the wife up for a little bit, torture her, shove a samurai sword into her heart in front of him, and has he scream, "No!"
God, and may I just say, that scene was so well and competently handled, because the going back and forth, first from these kind of brutal wide shots and getting closer and closer into those extreme close-ups to the point where he runs her through with the sword, and that crazy close-up of Franco Guerrero as he screams and goes into camera, and I felt my skin curdle in that moment. And then it was so intense.
And then, look, I've seen that scene a zillion times before.
So have I.
And you have too.
That's why I was unprepared for it to be effective.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think where it actually takes a turn, where it's not just the same old scene that we've seen before, just setting up the plot, that takes it even more into like a Straw Dogs, Peckinpah-esque level, is after they kill Anne. It's that guy Jason's laughter that kind of goes on for almost a minute as it goes on, as it has this like really well done montage about this guy's life crumbling, as this laughter is like amplified, like
great sound design
for seemingly a minute. That's where it gets Peckinpah-esque.
Yeah.
And the pièce de résistance is to cut off Inspector Ortega's arm. To cut off his left arm and he could kill him, but no. Just like they say in Brian De Palma's Wise Guys. We could kill them, but if we do that, what if they learn? So they're kind of taking a wise guy attitude. We could kill Detective Ortega, but then, he hasn't learned anything if we kill him.
It's even more than that. They call a doctor. They call some lame doctor to cauterize the wound and dump him at a hospital.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they've patched him up enough that he's not going to bleed to death, and they throw him at the front door of a hospital.
So every day for the rest of his life, he'll know he should not have fucked with Edwards.
Exactly. And he has that moment where he wakes up and he's not sure if it's all real.
Oh, that's a really good scene.
Reaches over and he feels that his arm isn't there. And that's when he realizes that Anne isn't there either because it's all real. And then he has the same scream. And it's so painful.
Yeah. Oh, my God!
Yeah, oh, my God! Yeah, it's literally done like Tough Guys Don't Dance style.
No, but other people make fun of that. We don't make fun of Ryan O'Neal and Tough Guys Don't Dance.
That's a real emotion people have.
Yeah, I know. It doesn't have oh my God! Look, we're literally describing a movie you probably feel, except for the arm cutoff part, that you probably feel you've seen done a zillion times before. And you have, but this production just like its heart and its cojones are right in the right place. And Bobby Suarez is a really effective filmmaker. There's fantastic shots in this film. It has a great rhythm and a great energy. There's good lighting. It falls into the same kind of category that we've talked about on some of these movies that works pretty good, where this actually, for a Filipino movie, actually has a pretty decent budget. I think Franco Guerrero is actually a big enough star there that this was like
It does everything that a big Hollywood movie would do. They've got the helicopter scenes. They've got the boat scene. They've got the helicopter chasing the boat scene. And like as good as any Bond movie, by the way.
No. The helicopter chase scene looks like the Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry helicopter car chase, except done with a speedboat.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So what ends up happening with the character is... his life is over, or as far as he's concerned. He blames himself completely. He's the one that got his wife killed. There's nothing he can do anymore. He's weak and he's helpless because they've cut his arm off. He'd kill himself before he'd become some clerical clerk, all right, in Interpol. So he just decides he's going to drink himself to death and become a bum. I actually think they did a good job in this, and you can maybe say it goes on too long, but it's part of their commitment to his downfall. One of the things I like about it is when he first goes to the bar and he meets the prostitute, who I actually thought would have a bigger part in the movie because she's actually a pretty cool character.
Yeah, and that she actually recognizes his goodness.
No, I thought she was going to be like Linda Haynes in Rolling Thunder for a second. I thought she was going to...
They played against that. Yeah. They pushed against that.
She was cool. But the thing is, you're wondering... Is he like Charlie Rain in Rolling Thunder, where it's like, oh no, he's going to go to the bad guy's bar and he's going to pretend to get drunk with the prostitute, just to kind of get the lay of the land,
just to integrate,
and just kind of no, he's a loser. no, this is not him going undercover. This is him being a fucking loser, and he's just getting drunk and throwing his life away, and he's just like living in the gutter, and eventually his old mentor really kidnaps him from the gutter. And takes him way fucking far ways away.
To his secret camp, his ranch.
His secret lair, all right, somewhere in the forest.
This is what I've been really doing. This is what the restaurant pays for.
And he's like, okay, so enough of your self-petting bullshit. You can't get revenge the way you are. However, we're going to teach you how to fight. We're going to teach you how to do everything you can do, and you're going to get your life back. And enough of this feeling sorry for yourself. And so he, like a proper kung fu movie, starts putting him through the paces, but not just a proper kung fu movie, but a proper one-arm kung fu movie, which that is its own genre, is basically based on the Jimmy Wang Yu films.
In fact, that guy who's teaching him, there's this one kind of teacher character who's really almost, he's a non-speaking part. He's just some guy who's there. the way he illustrates how to do the moves, the one-armed moves, and how he keeps his eye on Ramon Ortega.
Yeah.
He keeps his eyes on him, but he shows him as he's doing it, and he's showing the audience in those scenes. And I've rarely been instructed so well in how these moves would be done.
Yeah, it's really, I have to say, talk about scenes I've seen many times before.
Yeah,
all right?
I know you've shot yourself.
Yeah. Guy going through a training, all right, is one of the scenes I've seen the most of any scene in my life. I'd never seen it. You were right to point that out, because in the movie, the teacher who's hiding one arm behind his back, he'll go and he'll fight a guy, and he'll block him, and he'll land the blows.
Shows him how he can win.
Yeah.
With one arm.
So
I don't need one arm. I only need one arm.
Yeah. And so he does it at full speed, and then after he's done, then he shows the impact points. You see, this is how I did it. Here, and here. So how did I do it? I did it this way, and this way.
And then you can track later on in the movie how he's fighting with that one-arm technique.
Now, one of the things that was actually kind of interesting in following Hong Kong films going into the later 80s, they started moving away from martial art, primarily films, into the more John Woo, Chow Yun-fat, gun movies.
Yeah.
So now, for 2 seconds, they were starting to call that genre gun fu. But then the guys, Toby Russell, Ken Russell's son, and Rick Baker, not the makeup effects guy, but the Hong Kong martial art experts out of Britain, started a magazine called Eastern Heroes, and they dubbed that genre heroic bloodshed. Yeah. And so it started becoming known as heroic bloodshed. However, the way they teach it in One Arm Executioner, I think you can officially call it gun fu. Because it's all the acrobatics and stuff that you are known to seeing in martial art movies, but just added with a gun. And so he's doing leaps and somersaults and this and that, and he can fire at the slightest sound and hit his target. And I gotta say, not expecting this, that training sequence was as much fun as any training sequence I'd ever seen. It was just such a blast.
Tight.
And it's so well shot, and the more fantastical his training gets, and the more he pulls it off, the more exciting it is, because you can't wait to see him take on everybody.
Yeah, and you feel a kind of crescendo towards the conflict with the villain coming. Throughout that scene, as opposed to just being a whole bunch of moments strung together.
But when he actually just does a backward flip, all right, and then like in the middle of the flip, he hits 2 targets with his gun. Oh, I was jumping out of the chair. All right, that was so exciting. Like, oh,
and
my
now
God.
You're ready.
Yeah, now you're ready. But one of the things that's really nice about the movie is it knows what it is, but it actually takes Franco Guerrero seriously, and it takes Detective Ortega seriously, or Inspector Ortega seriously, because there's that moment when Ortega is finally starting to commit to the training, and he's finally starting to shake off his self-pity and shake off his guilt a little bit. And then this mentor shows up. So you decided to join the living again, I see.
Yeah.
But we felt that, and we're happy for him that he's he's crawled out of the gutter.
And then mayhem ensues.
Yes. Okay. And so basically all these different story points, or the story points you expect to find in a revenge-o-matic, and it hits them all perfectly. And not only does it hit them all perfectly, it adds its own little special shine. Now, one of the last things before I get to the third act is the movie has 2 jumping off points. It's definitely jumping off from the Jimmy Wang Yu films. His first films with Shang Shi, which is the one-armed swordsman, and then his own directed movies, The One-Armed Boxer and Master of the Flying Guillotine. But it's also obviously has seen Rolling Thunder.
Well, it has to have.
Yeah, exactly. And frankly, I think part of the seriousness of the movie comes from the Rolling Thunder.
Which is almost overly serious by comparison. This movie almost finds a kind of, frankly, Hollywood balance.
Yeah. But there is this Rolling Thunder quality, especially to the massacre scene.
Yeah.
For sure, the massacre scene. But also to him in the hospital bed, and to learning how to reload his gun with one arm.
Which was a good little trick they figured out.
It's really cool.
And I especially like how he kind of cocks it with one hand.
Oh, no, that's awesome. That's terrific. Now, here's the thing about the third act.
It turns into a Werner Herzog movie.
Yes, it does a little bit. Okay. While I was watching the movie, I was thinking this is where the film is having a misstep, because it's kind of hit all of its bases just perfectly, and then now it should be bringing the whole baby home when it comes to like assaulting the main bad guy's lair, his island or his lair or whatever it is. All right, the assault of the fortress. Okay, now you bring it home, you wipe out all those guys, and you kill the guy. Okay, now this is the part when the movie starts getting a little windy and starts whatever. But then, now having seen the film all the way through, yes, it does get a little windy, but it seems to be kind of going on its own, and it knows what it's doing. Yeah. So, because it starts following the big guy who killed his wife, Jason, and then Edwards as they try to escape through this jungle.
Yeah.
And okay, you just said it.
Yeah,
it's as if they hired Werner Herzog to shoot second unit.
He is a pig, and so therefore he must slog through the mud like a pig.
And it was like Werner Herzog watched the entire movie up until that part and said, okay, as far as I'm concerned, forget Edwards. I'm making Jason the main guy. It's Jason's story. From here on, Bobby Suarez can deal with the one-armed executioner all he wants. This is Jason's movie, The Fat Henchman. I am making the movie about the journey of degradation of the fat henchman who's like a pig, and I will put him through the mud like the pig he is, and we will enjoy his degradation. But the degradation that we enjoy is the degradation of us all.
That was a little probably more like Michael Curtiz, but yeah, Werner Herzog.
I think the sentiment-wise, it was like Herzog.
Sentiment-wise, it definitely was, because he would definitely be like, he must become stuck in the mud, for nature holds on to him and strangulates him and holds him down. And then the movie must become held down as well. There's one other moment, which is when Edwards gets his final, they blow up the boat. But I see, and I think you saw.
No, I saw it. No, it's a
Edwards dives out of the boat.
It's a misstep, all right? Because look, I was thinking they should have just wrapped things up. But part of the reason they're not wrapping it up is because they have a big action sequence yet to go, which is Edwards trying to escape on the speedboat with the one-armed executioner following him in a helicopter throwing grenades, at him. And finally, it has this situation where he drops a grenade, lands in the boat. Edward goes, "Oh my God," jumps out, and then the boat blows up. So we watch it. I mean, he jumps out because it's actually happening. The actor actually has to jump out of the boat before it blows up. All right, that's why he does, because it makes sense.
You don't want to blow up the actor.
But the way we're looking at it, no, Edwards is just floating around in the water. All right, he didn't blow up. It would have been easy enough to cut to the boat just exploding, and we would have assumed but we watched him get clear of the boat. And then he even says, "Okay, let's turn around and get Edwards." In the helicopter. But then it ends up he has his final thing with the fat guy Jason. And now I'm expecting him to go get Edwards, but then the music starts playing and that
we're done.
Yeah, that the movie is working as if Edwards is dead.
Well, here I've thought about this and I was thinking
look, the one-armed executioner even says, "My work here is done."
Yeah. And I think that to director Bobby Suarez, philosophically, Edwards isn't really revenge. Mm-hmm. Like, he's just a businessman. He's just a guy. He's the facilitator. He's just some white dude on the island.
He's just a Mitchum brother.
The guy who ran the sword through his wife.
Yes.
The pig who killed his wife, and even up to his death is gloating over it. Yeah. In death.
How do you feel? Not as good as it felt ramming that blade through your wife.
To Bobby Suarez, that's the villain.
Yeah.
True revenge, is taken there, and to him, that's enough. There will always be a Nigel Edwards in the world in the Philippines. That's the problem. Maybe that's the commentary.
Nigel Edwards. That's a good. That's Nigel Hogg.
Did I call it Nigel Edwards?
Yeah, I like Nigel Edwards.
You're gonna write that one down too.
Yeah. Look, I wish I didn't have a question mark thinking that he was going to go back and get Edwards later, but his kind of slow walk, taking a bullet with each, his slow approach to Jason as he just shoots him one by one, gets constantly moving forward on him. That works great. That's terrific.
There's a commentary going on about American imperialist influences in the Philippines at that time. It's almost on display in the background of every shot of the police, which are these pictures, paintings of Imelda Marcos.
Yeah, in all federal buildings. Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
I mean, one painting of her looking at us as if she's almost like a fourth character in the movie.
Constantly throughout it. I mean, he's definitely making a point about the corrupt influences that are going on in the Philippines at that time. And it's almost like Edwards gets away or doesn't get away. It doesn't matter because there's always another Edwards to step into his place. That might be the Philippine attitude. Whereas the guy who ran his sword through your wife laughed, that guy's going to die.
Yeah.
For sure. That guy's going to die.
And laughed in a sound designy kind of way.
In a creepy.
Anyway, look, One-Armed Executioner is a powder keg. It just delivered like dominoes. I'm a big Bobby Suarez fan. I'm looking forward to seeing even more films with him and Franco Guerrero. One I think I have in my collection is one with Christopher Mitchum, John Philip Law, and Franco Guerrero called American Commandos. And by the way, Edwards is in that one as well.
Well, I dug up an old review. It seems like a recent review by my favorite critic, Franklin Browner. I have to read it in the voice of Bill Margold.
Bill Margold.
Because you've been reading me all of these Bill Margold and Jim Sheldon reviews. And you've been sending them to me, and you've had this project you're working on, and you're kind of climbing inside of their heads. I keep hearing his voice, and so when I was reading this review, I couldn't help but do it in the voice of someone else.
Bill Margold.
Bill Margold. One may be unexpectedly lured into believing that this 1981 Revenger is a grade C exploitation quickie. But it's truly every bit as good as the best big-budget early 80s studio action thriller. But it's only budget that separates the two, because all the story mechanisms that make a Hollywood movie are here, on full display, with Franco Guerrero taking the place of, say, the virile James Caan, and Bobby A. Suarez taking the reins of, instead, say, Michael Mann. The resulting production is as badass, if not bad-asser, if there is such a word. It is the opinion of this critic that Jody Kay, as the love-struck Anne, could be cast in either production. She is that wonderful.
Well said. And I can't remember that.
She could have been in a Hollywood movie version of this. She could have been in this, and she's as great in both.
No, I'm remembering actually as we watched the movie, you kept pointing out different Michael Mannisms.
Oh, the wardrobe feels like it's right out of Miami Vice. I feel like we're watching Miami Vice in some ways, and the locales, don't hurt that at all.
Yeah,
it completely helps that illusion. Plus, the movie is very solidly made, the way, constructed, the way Michael Mann constructs things. I would just say Michael Mann probably has a bigger budget and more and resources, but man, Bobby Suarez delivers.
Yeah, well, not only that, I would actually say that, I think the weakest part of Thief is like the taking the villains,
which was the same year.
Yeah, exactly. But actually the taking the villains compound and One-Armed Executioner is fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. Which is one of the reasons, like when you look at Thief and you look at this, it's like there are similarities to be drawn from the two, and the look of the movie, though, the eye of the director, as you see.
Oh, it's right there.
I was saying Michael Mann, and every now and then I would say Tony Scott, and it was like, and
there's just like
it was feeling slick like that.
And there's a cutting style, there's a cutting technique.
Well,
but look,
there's also a commitment to kind of a Hollywood deliver for the audience style.
Yeah, no,
you're getting an absolute revenge thriller, but there's nothing that isn't out of the reach of a general audience.
That's very, very well said. And look, but the reason we're so enthusiastic about the film is just one of those things where I thought I had seen all the great classics of this type of genre. And I knew about this movie. I've known about this movie since the 80s, since seeing the trailer and everything. And like I said, I know who Bobby Suarez is. But to actually finally get around part of the reason we're even doing the show is to get around to watch something like this and actually, oh my God, this is a classic. This is a grade Z exploitation classic, and it sits right on the shelf with something like Miss 45, which is probably the closest in its year range.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but it's it sits on the shelf with Navajo Joe and Coffee and Miss 45 and all those really terrific movies. And we just kept looking at each other. Oh wow, we found this or like a Mad Max or something like that.
This isn't a number 3 movie. This is a number 1 movie.
Yeah,
this is the main event.
No, we were so enthused to find a little diamond sitting in a trash can.
Yeah.
Have you ever wondered what the lead singer of Smash Mouth, Zach Goody, feels about new versus old guys in music and cinema? Or how photographer Toasty Cakes makes his cinematic discoveries? What about the opinion of Rotten Tomatoes editor Jacqueline Coley and what she considers to be the new Hollywood shift of the streaming era? Join me, reporter on the beat Gala Avery, as I get to the bottom of these very questions. Starting on October 26th, I have a new guest on the mic every week. Yes, every Thursday, hear your favorite filmmakers, photographers, actors, models, and more talk about a topic that is near and dear to their heart that they want you to know about. You'd be surprised at what people are interested in. The Gala show premieres October 26th with new episodes every Thursday, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Roger and I are back, except joined this time by the lovely Gala Avery. Hello, Gala.
Hello, Quentin. Hi, Dad.
Hey, Gala. How's it going? Since
really
I
good.
Saw you earlier today.
Really great. It's so funny. When I was watching this movie, my dad actually walked by my room and he's like, "Oh, okay, you're watching the One-Armed Executioner. What do you think?" And I'm like, "This is awesome!"
Which I was like, "Okay, we're in the right reality. CERN hasn't fucked this one up."
This movie is. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if I felt this way about a movie since we did the Demonoid episode.
Yeah.
This movie's awesome. First off, it fires on all cylinders.
Completely.
The opening gag with the little person in the telephone booth. I can't believe you guys didn't bring that up.
You're right. I forgot about it. Actually, that worked.
Well, there's so many good things that happens in the first 3 minutes or whatever. But that amazing
that's his gang
galvanized
connection.
us.
That incredible actor too.
He's on the phone and he's calling basically because the deal's gone wrong, and then he gets locked in the.
He's like a snitch.
Yeah, he gets locked in the booth and he gets thrown in the river or the ocean, and that's the whole
ocean.
catalyst for Ortega to be on the case anyway. And I think it actually sets you on the right tone for the movie.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a little crazy, but really fun.
Well, and also when they bring the phone booth out, when they lift it out of the water, it looks like a coffin.
Yeah.
And it is a coffin, basically.
But not only that, though, that's when
his snitching tool was his coffin.
But also, well said there. But also, that let me know how well this movie was going to be, because that collection of shots when Ortega was at the lake and them taking the phone booth out was just so well done.
Yeah.
There's a storyteller at work here. There's a storyteller who's showing you picture by picture what you need to see.
This isn't a get-it-done kind of movie. No, this guy knows what he's doing. Yeah. There's a nice philosophy to the way the shots are cut together and the camera placements.
And you guys are right. There are a lot of, quote, tropes in this movie, but they're done so well. It's... As you just said, it's not a get-it-done movie. They're not just going from one thing to the next. Okay, we got to tick these boxes. We got to have the training sequence. We got to have his arm get cut off, blah, blah, blah. They're so good every time. I know his arm's going to get cut off, but the way that his arm gets cut off is so gut-wrenching. It's his own folly, because the book that the crime people are trying to get doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
It was burned up. He's the one that comes up with the idea, we'll just mess with them.
Yeah, we'll fuck with them.
And that's his problem. Right. He messes with them.
That's an important theme for this movie.
Yeah, and he messes with them, and they take away what's most important.
No, he's kind of right to feel guilt, all right? Yeah. No, I wanted to fuck with him, and I got fucked.
And the worst thing that could possibly happen.
Yeah, and paid for it.
Yeah. And, I love Jody Kay as Anne.
I do too.
Yeah,
I think she's awesome. I actually believe this on-screen romance.
Yeah, me too.
When he's depressed and they show that montage that you're talking about at the beach.
You feel true love.
I understand why he's it's not just some girl that he's brought through.
No, that final kissing scene that they have and that flashback, that's a real
She's
kiss.
either one of the most convincing actresses or...
Now, look, admittedly,
Or it was real.
It starts getting pretty corny when they have the flashbacks when he's remembering Jody, but I didn't mind because on one hand, it's a sweet kind of corny and the rest of the movie is so grim. It's giving you a break from the grimness. But also, like, I like Jody Kay, so it's just nice to see her again.
Yeah, and also, I actually really like those flashbacks because, okay, when he gets his arm chopped off, there's that shot of like the magazine and his arm like twitching. That shot is so cool. I love it. Reminded me actually of Demonoid.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it is like Demonoid.
I don't know. I love these like hand shots where like these arms are moving and stuff. It's so cool looking. And that's why I like those flashbacks. It's because those flashbacks are showing us what he's lost and what those moments that he's lost. Like he could have been right now on the beach with Anne if he just hadn't have wanted to mess with those guys. If it hadn't been his own pride that lost him Anne, he could have been there right now. It's so believable that he's just down in the gutter. And then I love that he goes and gets taken by his mentor in the car, just like drunkenly stumbling around.
Like abducted.
Like abducted.
Yeah. Like you think maybe it's the bad guys
head.
abducting him.
I actually thought it was the bad guys at first abducting him. And no, it's his mentor.
It's like that being a Mooney being kidnapped and being deprogrammed.
Yeah.
He says my favorite line in the movie, if you want revenge, you must earn the right to take it.
Yeah, that's what it said.
I thought that was like such a powerful line because you know what? He has to pull himself back up. He can't just like get revenge. He has to work hard to right his wrongs and to get the revenge. And I loved it. That spinning machine.
Yeah, the spinning machine. That's where
let's build a crazy spinning machine.
Yeah,
to
carry bottles and stuff. You know, with numbers, and you have to shoot the right number at the right time as it spins around you. That spinning machine is so cool. That's when the movie got even better. Where it was like it kicked up to a different gear with that because those shots were so well done. It was so clever.
It's so dynamic.
And when all of a sudden he's able to pull it off, it's like, oh shit. He's become a bionic gunman now.
Like he's earned the right to go take his revenge.
It is gun fu at that point.
And it's awesome. I think, and I love this genre of gung fu. I wish there was like more movies that were just like The One-Armed Executioner because it's so fun.
How in the fuck is there not another Return of the One-Armed Executioner?
With Nigel Hogg as Edward still out there.
Yeah, he's just swimming away.
He's still in the Philippines, that guy.
So, I mean...
He might still be there now.
He's still in the lake.
He's waiting for the call for the One-Armed Executioner, Return of the One-Armed Executioner. But I agree with Roger. I think like the true villain of this movie is the Jason character who has that Joker-like laugh, which is like, I feel like he should be playing the Joker right now in this movie.
With Edwards, it's just business. He's just a businessman. With that guy, it's
personal.
He's a sadist.
Yeah.
He wants to hurt people. And like with or without Edwards, he's going to be doing that. So
did you find the slow disintegration of Jason through the
he's like
disgusting...
with his, first off, his belly has been like punctured or shot at or something. So
he got stabbed with
he's stabbed. So that he's like holding his like bloody
holding his intestines while he wanders through the mud.
Crawls through the mud.
Herzog style.
And I love,
like as in Aguirre, the Wrath of God or something.
And I love how Edwards, when he finally gets on the boat, which by the way has like that weird swastika on it.
Yeah, I know. What is up with that?
That's very normal in the East.
He just has to like show everyone like I am a Nazi and like this is why I'm so evil.
So we know he's the bad guy.
Yeah, so we know he's the bad guy. And then I love that like Edwards, like when he finally gets the boat up and running after he's like told Jason like you're slowing me down, that Jason starts to crawl the boat and he goes ha ha and like kicks him off into the water.
Yeah, you dumb sucker.
And it's so funny because it's like oh my god, he just really is a dumb sucker at that point. And I actually love that we're left with Jason and Ortega because that's the guy that I want to see him get personally. Like, yeah, okay, if someone dies in a big explosion, like whatever.
Yeah, when it comes to Revenge-O-Matic, it has to be mano a mano.
It's got to be personal.
I'm looking you in the fucking eye as I empty my gun on you.
And not only that, Jason raises his hands to show I'm unarmed, and Ortega gives him a gun.
Yeah.
And he levels the playing field. That's how badass our hero is that he levels the playing field against his like arch nemesis villain and still kills him.
Yeah.
It's great. I don't know what else I can say. It's amazing. I loved it. I had so much fun. That's all I want from a movie. I want to have fun. I want to be like cheering at the end, and I was.
Yeah. And like, you know, and the kind of surprise of it all just made it all the better. Made it all the better.
And even furthermore, I think this is a movie I could watch again and again and again and still have fun watching it.
Well, I feel that way about all those other movies I mentioned that I'm putting this one in the same list. I've seen, God knows how many times I've seen Coffee. God knows how many times I've seen Navajo Joe. Here's a new one on the list. And now I'm excited to see more Franco Guerrero movies because I think he was terrific in it.
I think he was amazing in it. And also just, I love the music in this movie.
Oh, the music we didn't even talk about it. It's got a great blaxploitation style 70s soundtrack, a fantastic one. Okay, before we move off from this, one of the things that the One-Armed Executioner tape had, it had a whole plethora of Paragon trailers on the front that I have to announce. Well, by the way, the Paragon transfer was fantastic. It looked really, really good.
Really, really beautiful transfer. And the tape is held up. The box looks a little shabby. I don't know if I would call it
a beautiful transfer, but that would almost be against what it was. All right, it was a good, strong transfer.
It's a VHS style transfer
of a decent grindhouse print.
Yeah, this does not look like a Criterion Blu-ray. That's not the point.
No, but that would be to wash away the flavor.
Yeah, yeah. Run it through the deflavorizing.
Yes,
machine.
Exactly. Yeah, you get you can't clean the hot dog cooker all the time. You got to let some of that junk get on there. That's what makes it a barbecue. Okay, so the trailer is in front. Starts off with the horrible trailer for Boarding House, the only shot on home video slasher film of its day.
Remarkable for that reason, I guess.
Remarkably horrible. All right. The next trailer is for something, a phony title called The Witching, but it actually is Bird-Eye Gordy's movie Necromancer with Orson Welles and Pamela Franklin and Michael Octane, which I've never seen. I never really have any desire to see it, but it has one line that I've heard every time I heard this trailer that's always stayed with me, is somebody talking about witchcraft, and they go, "Witchcraft is the only religion that gives you something now in this life."
In this life. It's not promising you some bullshit in the afterlife.
I love that line.
It gives you something now. That's true.
And frankly, as weird as the movie looks, that line reading is very effective.
Yeah.
Okay,
you know the truth when you hear it.
There's the Molly and Lawless John trailer again. Then there's the One-Armed Executioner trailer on the front of that.
Yeah, on the One-Armed Executioner.
On the One-Armed Executioner tape is the One-Armed Executioner trailer, which we fast forward through, but I remembered it from before. Then there's the famous Gates of Hell trailer, which is how I even knew Gates of Hell existed, was seeing it on the Paragon Home video. And then there's the Hotwire trailer with Strother Martin and George Kennedy. Oh, and also there was Just Before Dawn.
That's right.
The other George Kennedy slasher movie directed by Jeff Lieberman, who did Squirm. And that is the wonderful trailers that are before the exciting find of One-Armed Executioner on the Paragon Video Productions library.
Well, everyone out there in podcast land, you're in luck because this movie is available on streaming. It's even on YouTube for free. And not only that, but there is an entire channel dedicated to Bobby Suarez's work. It's called Bass Films, BASFILMS. I'm really excited because I managed to actually pick this one up on VHS. Mm-hmm. I picked it up in a lot for $99.99. My lot included Hostages, which I did not have. I couldn't find the other Paragon.
You couldn't find it before, right? I couldn't find
it. I actually found it in a lot with the One-Armed Executioner. And the third movie that was in my lot was Umberto Lanzi's Violent Protection, which I think is also called Violent Naples.
Oh, yeah, Violent Protection. Yeah.
Yes, with John Saxon. So I got those 3 tapes for $99.99. So
all 3 Paragon.
All 3 Paragon. I actually found a Paragon lot.
You're growing your Paragon library.
I never thought I was going to be so excited to go on eBay and find a VHS tape. I actually saw it, and when I saw Hostages, I went,
because it's
Hostages. Clicking. Because I've been looking for that one, so I was just really excited.
Those are 3 actually very applicable.
You could almost do a whole episode on those 3.
That's a marquee. That's a grindhouse marquee, man.
Yeah.
And welcome back, and welcome to Blood City, our next film. This movie's from 1977, and the tape that we have is from Lightning Video.
Yes, which was a the more exploitation-y subdivision of Vestron, as if Vestron didn't already have exploitation.
Yeah, it still has that Vestron lightning bolt theme going on. The poster for this is great, and I had never seen this film, but now that I know that it is effectively a Westworld, I don't want to say...
It's a ripoff.
It's a ripoff. It's a Westworld ripoff.
Yeah.
Now looking at the poster art on the front, which is Jack Palance, like almost in an identical Yul Brynner pose, even tilted at the same angle.
And then, like, by the way, both this and One Armed Executioner were Eddie Branch titles. They were not from the Video Archives collection. One Armed Executioner would be under the O in the exploitation section.
Not before the A's and the numbers, right?
Yeah. But Welcome to Blood City would definitely be under the W's in horror science fiction.
And that's exactly where it belongs. I'm going to read from the back. Welcome to Blood City, where sudden death is a way of life. Academy Award winner and perennial villain, Jack Palance, Ripley's Believe It or Not, and Keir Dullea, 2010, the year we make contact.
Not 2001.
No,
just literally the last title that they did.
2001, that's a million years ago. Let's do something more recent, like 2010. Star in this futuristic action film about a computer that controls the lives and brutal deaths of the people of a small western town. Welcome to Blood City, where newcomers are the town's slaves and the law, Palance, kills at the slightest provocation, where killing is exonerated and rewarded, and the person who scores 20 murders becomes immortal. This is Blood City, the town that is manipulated by a computer controller's sadistic whims. Each citizen is programmed to want, at any cost, to be ordained as the Kill Master. Come visit if you dare. You are welcome to Blood City.
If you've seen the movie, that sounds like a word salad, all right? That includes a few buzzwords that you know from the movie if you've seen it.
Yeah.
But that is completely a word salad as opposed to a description. The mythology of this movie is what's great about it. Now, my problem with it, as we will go on talk, is it can't deliver a third act that lives up to the first two acts.
Or just the setup in general.
Yes. But the setup and the first two acts and the mythology involved is fucking sensational.
Yeah.
If they delivered it all the way to the end, this would be a science fiction classic. And I actually think the mythology, not only I think it's even more intriguing than the one in Westworld, and it's actually more plausible than the one in Westworld.
For sure.
Okay, go on with your Frank Bruner review.
This Westworld, I got to do it in the voice of...
Get your pipe going. Get your pipe going. Hit the pipe.
Okay. All righty then. I think I'm ready. Let me just adjust my ass a bit. This Westworld ripoff succeeds, while also blazing its own trail across the rocky range of mountains known as science fiction. With Jack Palance, the only actor wild enough to wrestle Yul Brynner to the ground and make him say beg, and the elegant heroine of genre cinema, Samantha Eggar, at her most horny, there's a lot to like about 1977's Welcome to Blood City. But it's the unexpected roughneck performance by the usually flaccid Keir Dullea that surprises above all. Turns out the guy has grit when given the opportunity in a character, and is keen to deliver by bullet or bare knuckles.
That is so drastically my favorite Frank Bruner review. That actually tapped into William Margold.
Yeah, I tried.
That really, really did. Especially
this time I tried.
The horny Samantha Eggar, that's exactly what he would have written at Right On, by the way.
Yeah.
All right.
And you know, okay, so there are two favorites of ours in this, two favorites of the show, rather.
Yes, exactly.
One would be the great Jack Palance.
Yes.
From our Uli Lamel.
From our very first episode, our maiden voyage, you might say.
And is he eating it up here again?
He's magnificent. He's having such a good time. And one of the things that's also interesting about this, it's interesting because apparently the tape came out after he had won the Oscar for City Slickers.
Oh, yeah. Where he was doing one-handed push-ups on stage?
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah. But what's interesting, though, is the movie's a 1977 movie, but almost all the aspects of his character Curly that won him the Oscar for his, slightly spoofing his own persona in City Slickers, this is like the maiden go-around for that performance is in this movie. And it's even played with the same kind of comic twinkle.
Yeah.
In his eye. But, his dialogue is fantastic. It's... When we watched the movie, we kept every big scene with Jack Palance. We just kept talking out loud about like, look how fucking great he is in this. He's so charming. He's so enjoyable. He makes the entire concept come alive.
Yeah. He's shown up to do this little programmer, and he's bringing all of Jack Palance to the show, and it's great.
The story basically, forget about where it starts, but the story gets going with Keir Dullea from 2001 in maybe his best performance since 2001, and definitely his most animated performance since his Otto Preminger film Bunny Lake is Missing.
Yeah, completely. He's unlike any other role he's done in this movie. He's tough in this film.
Well, yeah, usually when he shows up, he's just this, like you said, he's this flaccid character, whether it's in The Fox or it's in, all the weird cheapy science fiction movies he does.
Even
like
2001.
Strange New World flaccid. Or something. Yeah, but it works. It works completely. As part of the thing. But he has a sense of fun and a sense of entertainment and a sense of almost like a genre actor kind of performance that you just never see Keir Dullea do before. And he really kind of pulls it off. But anyway, the idea of the movie is all of a sudden Keir Dullea wakes up in the middle of some prairie, some rocky, westerny kind of prairie. And he's wearing some sort of what looks like a futuristic prison outfit. He wakes up, he has no idea where he is. And then there's about 4 or 5 other people there. Almost all of them famous Canadian actors, have been in zillions of Canadian movies.
Yeah.
All right. And so he wakes up and then he's like, where am I? What's going on? And they're all, well, we don't know our names. We don't know anything. We all just woke up in this Western landscape. The only thing that they have is a card with them. And the card lets them know that they're killers. And so what one person is saying, okay, you killed your baby. Somebody else, you killed 3 people in a car crash. You killed 2 people doing this. You killed 5 people doing that.
And other than that, they know nothing about themselves.
But they know nothing about them. The only thing they know is that they're killers.
Well, it's kind of important that Keir Dullea, right at the very beginning, after everybody has sort of like come to this acceptance, well, one thing we know is that we're all murderers, and then he tears up his card.
Yeah, he doesn't read his card.
Yeah.
Well,
and he's like, tearing it up. He's sort of like, don't believe everything you read.
Yeah. No, he already makes himself like the alpha dog. Already makes himself the leader of
the idea that Keir Dullea is the alpha dog in this situation suggests bad casting, but it's not bad casting. He rises to the occasion. It makes me think I wish Keir Dullea had been given more roles like this.
I actually think it actually looks like Keir Dullea and Jack Palance especially. I think you get the impression that they really responded to this screenplay.
Yeah.
That they were really, really excited by the possibilities of the screenplay. So these characters are walking along. Then some Western varmints show up, take their boots, and then rape the girl that's with them, Hollis McLaren from Atlantic City, and the movie Outrageous. And then all of a sudden, Jack Palance shows up, who's like this lawman. He's the sheriff of the town. He goes, well, I'll take you into Blood City. And while you're with me, ain't no one going to hurt you while you're in Blood City. And he walks them in, and he realizes that, like, everybody in Blood City, which is this Western town, they want to kill him.
Chaotic Western town.
It's a chaotic Western town where murder is just happening everywhere, but they can't kill them because they're under the protection of the law.
Yeah. And you immediately start noticing a few weird design choices, like these cowboys are wearing kind of strange symbols on their...
Yeah, you've got cowboys who are dressed up just like normal shopkeepers and the extras.
The background.
Of a Western movie. But then you have these other people, and you're assuming that
like an entire class of people.
That they're sort of the contestants or whatever this is going on, where they all wear black cowboy outfits with a target. On their back.
Like a red plus sign.
Yeah, it's like a target on their heart and on their back. And so now, I won't go through all the whys and the wherefores of the rules that the people of Blood City and our lead characters have to play in. However, what you don't know while you're watching the movie, and frankly, I don't care for the conclusion that they come up with, but you don't know exactly what you're watching for like a long, long period of time. Is this some weird prison of the mind? Is this a prison that they're at? Is this a game? Is this actually maybe a game for fun that they're all partaking in? Like it could be a Total Recall.
The movie's really good as long as you're asking that question.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Well, as everybody goes into town, you're either like one of the slaves, basically. You're a slave until you kill somebody, and you can only kill somebody if if they legitimately come at you and you get them. And so there's like all these rules they have to live by, and so you get picked off right and left if you're one of those people. And the trick is to become one of the I don't know, citizens, one of the people who wears black. One of the black suit people.
Well, if you're one of the black suit people, you can still die. Once you've killed 20 people,
you become immortal.
Now you become immortal, and now you get to be a shopkeeper or something like that. Now
you get to live there in peace, basically.
Yes, exactly.
As a background character. And so I'm watching this, and I know that it's a Westworld ripoff.
But it's also, doesn't it start seeming like, especially at this point, like there's also seems like a little battle royale mixed into there, with Jack Palance literally being the Beat Takashi character, running the whole thing, but also explaining the rules to the contestants as they go on. And they seem, it's funny because it's like, to me, it's like they're either contestants or they're prisoners. Or they're the third thing. Now, it turns out they're the third thing, and that's the least interesting.
And it was actually
scenario.
And you know how much I love Samantha Eggar now at this point. Like, I think she's just the cat's pajamas. I just love her. And so when she showed up in this movie, I was like, all right. And then she has kind of a little bit of a thankless role. And then come the point, which is, I'm guessing, around mid-movie, where she basically explains what the plot is and undoes all of the mystery of it. I couldn't help but feel a little let down in that moment. Well, having said that, Jack Palance, keeps it going.
I think the movie goes for like about 15 or 20 minutes before it cuts to Samantha Eggar and her husband, who are like these computer programmers that are kind of, programming this whole thing. The minute they cut to the computer programmers, the movie's never quite the same again.
Yeah.
All right. Be like, oh, that's what this is. Now, I will say, I don't like that they did that. I wish they had told the story without. I think you could easily have told the story.
I know you can.
I know you can. You could definitely have told the story without jumping out that way. It's kind of a bummer when they do, but I will give them some credit for it. They make that ultimately work. The whole concept of the two married computer programmers.
That's the reason. That becomes the reason for the movie.
Yeah.
Which is the one idea that's really better than Westworld in many ways.
Yeah, I don't think they should have gone that way, but for them going their own way, they do make that part eventually work for them to some degree.
So when I was watching this, almost the moment you popped out and we realized, I immediately started suspecting this is different than Westworld. This is a virtual reality of some kind. Mostly because I was equipped, being a Prisoner fan, with Living in Harmony, the Western episode that is where they take number 6 and they put him into a Western reality. Harmony, this town that he cannot get out of, no matter how much he tries. It's a parallel for The Village itself, and what they're saying is, look, you can take The Prisoner and you can do it in any genre. You can make a show in a Western town, and he would still be this character struggling like that. And they never break the reality until the very end. And actually, when they break the reality at the end of Living in Harmony, it's almost the worst part. Even there, I almost wish that they would have just let it be as the Western that it was.
I gotta say,
this weird, obviously not Western.
Those are the things we don't like about the movie. What we like about the movie, aside from the performances, is there's actually a minutia to the way that the Western tropes work in this science fiction world that are really, really clever, that are really, really cool. All the different breakdowns of how Jack Palance explains how this works versus how that works.
And he is just chewing it up as he's doing it. He definitely doesn't make it boring.
To me, there's a slight pane of glass between me and Westworld, because I just don't find it plausible that all your gunfights are going to happen to be with robots. Well, what if you have a gunfight with a real person? Well, yes, your gun doesn't work, but now you've just broken the illusion. All right, people break through windows and fly out of windows, and no one sprains a wrist or nobody twists their ankle. I don't quite buy how you have a barroom brawl with robots and like nobody's thrown through plate glass windows and no one got cut.
That future is coming, Quentin.
Okay, but there's nothing that doesn't really happen in the Welcome to Blood City world that I didn't buy.
Yeah.
The stuff that works so good that Roger's watching. I've seen this already. Roger's watching this, and I keep looking at him, and he's like, well, this is a science fiction classic, right? And I go, don't get so caught up. Yes, it is. It could have been. It doesn't last all the way through, but I forgot how it doesn't last all the way through. And it doesn't just self-destruct. Like I said, it just kind of leaks away. But I'm telling you, the stuff that works in the first half really, really works. The ideas in it that work really great ideas. I think probably of all the films that we've done so far, this is the one that's begging an even better remake.
Absolutely. This one could be remade in a hot second.
In a hot moment, this could be remade, and all the great things about it could be kept. I would change.
You could do it as a series, even.
It actually would be almost be better as a series. You know,
you could do a Westworld ripoff series.
Yes, you could. Yes, you could. And whoever was going up against HBO would be happy to do it. This is Welcome to Blood Cities for stars. All right,
yeah,
or Showtime. Yeah.
And we're back. Gala, what'd you think? What'd you think of Welcome to Blood City?
So I watched this on April 3rd, and apparently on April 2nd, 2014, I watched Peter Sadsky's other film, I Don't Want to Be Born. I barely remember that, but it was kind of weird almost watching that to the day, so many years later.
Well, that's interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What's I Don't Want to Be Born?
It's another film that he did. Apparently, I just randomly watched it. I barely remember it.
I know him from Taste the Blood of Dracula. All right.
He's one of those Hammer guys.
Yeah,
right?
he's one of the Hammer guys. Yeah, but I always remember the TV spot, Taste the Blood of Dracula. This picture has been rated M. And he also did Hands of the Ripper.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I actually wrote down better TV series premise than anything. So that was my thing. So I was thinking you could really develop, because the idea of this movie, in my opinion, is extremely cool.
Yeah, and bring back Samantha Eggar and have her play the guy from Space 1999. That role.
The Barry Morris.
Yeah, she's now in charge of the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, the premise is so cool that I couldn't help feel let down by the movie at certain points.
Yeah.
One, because of the reveal of what's really going on. Because, when he first wakes up and they all have the cards, I love that we don't know what's on his card.
Yeah.
We don't know if he's killed 100 people and he's a serial killer, or if he's killed no people. We don't know.
It's enough to make him reject his own supposed past.
Yeah, and it's...
No, but he never read it, though.
Oh, did he not?
No, he never read it.
Well, that's even better.
I know, it's way better.
That's even more of I Am My Own Man. I mean, there is so much Patrick McGoohan in this. I would even say Keir Dullea even looks a little like Patrick McGoohan, because Patrick McGoohan's whole thing in The Prisoner is I am my own man.
Yeah.
I am not a number. I'm a free man.
I am not a number.
For all you fans out there, I actually think it's Westworld meets Truman Show meets Battle Royale meets Total Recall. They even at one point reference, we have to bring him out of Recall. That's actually a line that they use.
Well, then somebody read Philip K. Dick.
Yeah.
For sure.
So it's heavily inspired by Philip K. Dick and Total Recall.
No, it's almost as if the film critic that comes in midway through Total Recall kind of wrote the script. Right? And you'll have everything. Red skies above Mars, everything, all right? But you will be lying there in a coma. You will be a vegetable.
What's more realistic? That you're a construction worker, or that you're an international spy who's gone to Mars to discover...
And you found your leading lady, sleazy yet demure.
Mr. Quaid, I urge you to reconsider.
And I love Jack Palance in this. I actually think him being in this elevates the movie to watchable for me. I feel like if anyone else was in that role, I would have just kind of lost interest in the movie, because the premise is so good. And then you kind of get led away. It got a little boring for me, to be honest. I do think some of the scenes at the end, which I'm not sure if we're giving away or not.
No, we're not giving away.
Are the coolest parts of the movie. I can't be specific on what they are, but I do think there are some really good nuggets of ideas. And I like Samantha Eggar. She lights up the screen.
When she injects herself into the story as the saloon girl,
Yeah.
all right, that one scene is like the great Samantha Eggar scene.
Yeah.
You know?
And I love how her husband like walks in on her basically fantasizing about her and
the Keir Dullea.
Keir Dullea.
Well, as he's having her sex, they're
she's
she's into the sex scene that she's
into her
programming.
virtual fantasy sex scene, and her husband walks in and is like, "This is pornographic. You have to stop." And she's like, "Hello."
And she's just like sucking on a pencil.
Yeah, like doesn't even hear him.
To substitute for her husband.
Gala, well, how did you watch this thing?
So I actually watched a VHS rip on YouTube, which, by the way, the credit sequence has this really cool pan of like the titles.
Oh yeah, well
that.
it was shot obviously in anamorphic.
Some kind of
so
scope.
they was doing
a tracking, a
digital pan and scan,
a scan track where they actually
they went along the lines of the credits.
Yeah, that was actually one of my favorite things about the movie. I loved that credit sequence, but I watched it on YouTube, but it's also available for Amazon on rent and also Tubi. TUBI has it playing right now. And my VHS tape that I got is a pan-Canadian video presentation. So I'm guessing it's a Canadian company. And
the company that made it. It's got a bunch of Canadian actors and some visiting Americans in there. But there's but the director is British, but there's a British component in it. And one of the great British components in it is the score by Roy Budd.
It's fantastic.
It's got a fantastic score. Roy Budd also did the score for one of my favorite British crime movies of the 70s, Sitting Target. And but Roy Budd is terrific, and this score is kick-ass.
Yeah, this was a great score.
So my VHS cost me $24.99. And shout out to Crazy Mike's Video at 2230 North Reserve Road, Missoula, Montana, 59802, which is where my tape originally came from.
I'm Crazy Mike, and we've got it all on the speed down here at Crazy Mike's.
Fred Williamson is back, this time in a blind rage. Fred Williamson the way you like him. Blasting and fighting his way across the screen like you'd never seen him before. He's got to get back 15 million of the government's bucks ripped off by 5 of the world's baddest dudes in the most explosive heist of the century. And all 5 are blind. Fred Williamson as Agent Jesse Crowder out to foil the perfect heist in Blind Rage. Check him out. He is one badass mother.
Blind Rage, with co-hit One-Armed Executioner, will be playing September 17th and 18th on glorious 35mm film at the New Beverly Cinema, 7165 Beverly Boulevard, Los Angeles, California. For further information, go to thenewbev.com. The New Beverly Cinema, always on film.
Okay, we're back for our third and exciting movie. This was a treat and a half, to say the least. Movie is called Blind Rage. It's on the MGM UA home video line, the big square box with the cool credits on the inside flap. This is deceptively a Canon film release. Canon didn't make it, but they picked it up as a negative pickup. And I'm going to read the back of the box. Blind Rage. Brace yourself for blistering kung fu action and for a devilishly daring plot to steal $15 million. The U.S. government has transported this fortune in cash to a secret bank vault in Manila for use by anti-communist nations in Southeast Asia. 5 determined criminals have their eye on the loot, and all of them happen to be blind. Amazing Anderson, a sightless magician, the blind matador, his eyes gored by a bull, and hard-bitten ex-syndicate hitman were blinded in clashes with the mob. A sultry femme fatale trains them step by perilous step for the heist. Being blind, the band is suspected by no one, and with their combat expertise, incredibly developed senses, raw courage, and most of all, blind rage, they just might pull off the crime of the century. Filmed on location in Hong Kong, Las Vegas, Tokyo, Manila, Mexico, and Los Angeles. Blind Rage stars Derville Martin, that bad Derville Martin. Leo Fong, Leila Hermosa, and the great Fred Williamson as Jesse Crowder. From the treacherous underworld of the Orient to the climactic rooftop battle in Los Angeles right by a International House of Pancakes sign, the film is a blistering blast of relentless fury. Blind Rage. Located under the B's in the exploitation section. Okay, that's a way to describe Blind Rage to some degree or another. That's kind of a little highfalutin way. The real way to describe Blind Rage is it's the Doberman gang. But instead of Dobermans, it's blind guys.
Yeah.
And it follows the entire structure of the Doberman gang.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
Beat by beat.
Until it gets to the last half hour.
When it transforms.
Or 20 minutes. Yeah. And then it turns into the killing with blind guys.
Yeah.
Now, that is as great as you ever could have hoped it could be. This movie is such a blast. As much as we loved The One-Armed Executioner, Blind Rage is only just a little tiny bit underneath it. It's not quite as good a movie as The One-Armed Executioner is, but it's definitely as fun, if not even slightly funner.
Absolutely.
Than One-Armed Executioner. Blind Rage is just a perfect trash movie.
But they're also going all over the world in this film. I mean, it's
well in the most most threadbare way possible.
Yeah, they make you feel as though you're going all over the world.
Yeah. Well, they go all over the world like you go all over the world in Rules of Attraction. You know,
the European tour.
They show up with a 16mm camera and then they film you Shinjuku.
Yeah,
like for a night.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Then they show up in Hong Kong and film Hong Kong for a day.
Yeah, and then they go shoot the interiors all in the Philippines.
Yeah, exactly. And literally, them hiring Fred Williamson is like they already shot an entire Filipino movie, and then they go, look, we need Fred for a weekend. We just need Fred for the weekend, and they come to Los Angeles and shoot that in a weekend or 4 days.
But let's recognize the fact that Los Angeles is so well represented in this movie that it almost becomes a character. You know, it is such a treasure to be able to have this movie.
It's well represented in that way that we've mentioned before in other films.
Where we get to see Los Angeles.
Especially
1976.
It's the grade Z movies. The way they shoot with their big wide.
They're stealing stuff. They're not hiding it underneath a production.
They want to be around big signs, they want to be around big cities, and then you get a sense of the signage of a city. You get and they oftentimes shoot them
street life.
Yeah, in Riverside, or they shoot them in Hollywood. You get a sense of Los Angeles in these movies that you don't get in any other ones. You're able to see a crazy restaurant and read the sign, read the little slogan. You're able to completely read whatever movies are playing on marquees, on the film. But here's the thing about Blind Rage is it starts off like a silly plot and it's a silly premise, and maybe they'll have fun with it. And that's all I'm expecting it to be. And that's really all it is in the first 25 minutes of the movie. This has that really fun bunch of guys on a mission movie kind of thing.
Gathering up the team, putting it together.
Yeah, they come up with the idea for, okay, we're going to do a robbery with these blind guys. Well, we have these 5 blind guys in mind. Now, we got to talk them into it, but we think they're going to do it.
But seeing how each one of those guys lost their sight is one of the fun parts of it.
No, again, it's a trope, all right? Yeah. So it's like, they have a whole list of, here's a photo. There's a photo of Derval Martin. And then it's described what he did, how he lost his sight. And then you see it. You see a whole vignette of Derval Martin losing his eye. By the way, and knowing the first 3 guys you're going to have to watch, we're going to have to watch them get blind.
Yeah.
Right?
It's harrowing. Like with fingers in the eye, like, oh, you're going to squeal on us or whatever that was.
Right, yeah, that's
fingers in the eye.
So you see the photographs of the different guys who are going to be our team and the little vignettes about how they all lost their sight. Then they have to go and approach them all. And then they eventually get them. Then they hire a girl,
who happens to teach at a blind school.
Yeah, Leila Hermosa. She's a teacher for the blind, just like the way in the Doberman gang. They hire the girl who knows how to train Dobermans.
Yeah.
Okay, so Charlie Dalvo is the guy who's kind of putting this whole thing together. And he's the one who hires Leila Hermosa to train these blind guys. Now, if you've listened to one of the earlier episodes where we talk about women in cages, Okay, that guy, Charlie Davo, is Rudy. He's the bad guy from Women in Cages. So as soon as he showed up, hey, there's Rudy. All right?
Yeah. And I always recognized him because he looked a lot like Dennis Humbert, who was one of the silent owner of Video Archives who used to work at the card clubs.
So it's always great.
So whenever I see Rudy, I'm like, oh my God, it's Dennis.
Well, there's many times that what we watch is overlapping, but it's fun when we don't intend it to overlap, and it overlaps. So that's kind of an overlapping thing.
He's becoming one of the show's
he is.
favorites.
But part of the thing, though, about the gal who teaches the blind guys is it does seem a little bit like he's going to have to talk her into it. He goes, look, I'd like to hire you. I've got a job for you. Well, what am I going to be doing in this job? Well, you're going to be doing just like you're doing here. You're going to be training a bunch of blind guys to rob a bank. She's like, what? What the? Let me just explain it. Okay. So he starts explaining it. You're not exactly sure if that explanation is enough at that given moment.
It seems to be enough for her.
But apparently it seems to be enough for her, because then almost all the scenes after that scene, after he has to convince her, not only is she convinced, it seems like she's leading the gang.
Yeah, you're going to have to do this before the alarm gets tripped, and you're going to have to do this, and you go to the front desk, and be sure to intimidate this one, and be sure to do like she rises to the occasion.
She completely rises to the occasion. She starts training everybody what they need to do. She has absolutely no qualms whatsoever. If she's torn for any way, you don't get it. I mean, one of the things that's interesting is that Charlie Dabo, part of his thing is to be there all the time, but he never talks. So they don't.
He's the silent,
he's the silent
puppet
guy.
master.
He's the silent puppet master. So the blind guys have no clue on him whatsoever. But Leila Hermosa becomes the lead of the movie, seemingly for the first 45 minutes. Yeah. Now, and there's even an interesting thing about her as far as the movie is concerned, because the actress who's playing her is actually quite fun. She has a real twinkle in her eye. Yet, she's being dubbed, and I'm pretty sure that it's not her doing the dubbing. I'm pretty sure it's another actress doing the dubbing. Now, my feeling is this, is the person who's doing the dubbing isn't actually an actress. But that doesn't mean she's bad. She's just not a professional actress. She does an okay job, but she's a little monotone, which Leila Hermosa doesn't seem monotone in her delivery. But as time goes on, the dichotomy of the sparkle in Leila Hermosa's eyes and the not bad monotone vocal delivery ends up working at a certain point. It seems off at first.
It seems instructional.
But when she talks so much, she's always she spends the whole first half of the movie just giving one monologue after another to the guys to teach them what they're doing, and she's on their case.
Yeah,
these are bad dudes. All right, she's no, that's not right. You got to do it like this.
What's great is that entire kind of training sequence, which is, you know how in the Doberman Gang, how they create fake banks and they have a little
balsa wood bank. A little balsa wood bank. All right,
and
for them to rob. I
love how this training sequence culminated in this great, magnificent long shot that Efren Pignon sets up, which is just this great, wonderful, wide traveling shot showing this balsa wire frame of a bank.
That shot is so good because that shot clues you in that you've been watching this movie a little bit more than you thought you were.
Yeah.
Because now it's kind of exciting. And they actually do a big shot that
an epic move.
An epic move for this cheap movie that shows all the blind guys getting into place in their little practice balsa wood bank. And it kind of just shows it off in this really cool way. And it just also shows that we're kind of keeping up with the movie. We're kind of like following it, and it starts getting exciting. Now, then it comes time to actually do the robbery. And I can honestly say, and I don't think I'm guilty of hyperbole here, look, I love low-grade, trashy movies like this. They're a lot of fun, and I don't apologize.
It's your thing.
I don't apologize for it whatsoever. They either pull them off or they're not, and they can be fun, and they can be this, and they can be whatever. Okay. But when the actual robbery started happening, I was far more connected to what was going on in this movie than I am to most
robberies,
cheap, trashy little exploitation movies. I totally gave a fuck. I kind of cared about the guys, even though they're not good guys, but I was interested how the robbery was going to work. I mean, I was plugged in. I was plugged in more than I normally would be to a movie like this. It's actually generally exciting because the whole part of the robbery is they don't want to appear like blind guys. They want to appear as if they're sighted. So no one would think that blind guys were doing this. So their whole thing is to not give away that they're blind.
And because they've been rehearsing on a scale set of the bank, they'll know exactly where, like, the mannequin of the guard you would have been on the set will be where the guard is in real life.
And then also something weird about this movie that's really kind of unique is there's so many movies where people play blind and they put on glasses and they do this and they do that. These guys who are playing the blind guys, like there is no extra sight for them. They seem like realistic blind people doing it. And actually, I think my guess is the magician is actually really blind.
Right.
That's the one I think is really blind, is the guy playing the magician. It actually is thrilling watching the blind guys during the robbery take their robbery positions. They all got guns, and like obviously they don't have eyes to keep a lookout on anybody, but they're attuned to sound. So if anybody makes a sound that they're not supposed to make, that motherfucker gets shot dead.
Yeah. Just right away.
And they don't fuck around.
What I love is like the poor like receptionist girl or whatever she is, the teller girl who's just sitting at a desk and she just rotates her chair a little.
Boom!
Boom, gets blown away.
Yeah.
Don't rotate your chair.
We said don't move. And we mean it. Don't move.
Don't fucking move.
Now, the other thing that's also, special extra bubblegum flavor into this bubblegum is the idea that the guys are fucking badass dudes. I like the fact that, they're blind. And so you also start like, now you're kind of rooting for them. They make them like these. No, these are bad dudes. These are fucked up killers. The whole thing is a bad dude situation. The plan is mean. These guys are fucking crumbs. All right, they all are coming from a disreputable place. But that makes me love the guys all the more. All right, the fact that they're scoundrels. And I'm going to make a unilateral decision that we don't say anything that happens after the robbery.
Yeah, that sounds good.
We can mention that Fred Williamson shows up as his character, Jesse Crowder, who's he's kind of a skip tracer. He did 2 movies with that character. One was called No Way Back, and another one was called Death Journey, which actually duplicates the storyline of Midnight Run, years before Midnight Run. But that's his kind of character from his film company. And so he is a special guest star performance as Jesse Crowder, trying to wrap up the guys at the end.
Well, they definitely know what they're doing because they pop him like a high school picture or something, like a picture of Fred Williamson, like in the upper left corner of the poster.
But you get really involved with the gang and them pulling off the robbery.
I got to say, Fred Williamson looks so good running in this movie.
He
Tom Cruise is a great runner. Like, you watch that guy run and it's fun to watch him run. Mm-hmm. But watching Fred Williamson run at the end of this movie was just like great. Like, it's like, man, look at him go.
And the other guys along with that bad Derville Martin, all right, is also Leo Fong, who wrote the script.
Right.
He wrote this. He wrote the script.
Well.
And if you're a LA martial art fan or California martial art fan, Leo Fong starred in a whole series of movies that he produced himself. He wrote the scripts for. Also by this same director, there's Executioner from Death Row. There's the film I saw theatrically, Low Blow, but the really good one, the really, really good one is a movie called Kill Point, which stars Leo Fong that he wrote, that also has Cameron Mitchell and Richard Roundtree. Kill Point's a lot of fun. There's a great trailer for it you can find. But then there's also Tony Farrar, who's in the movie. He's the guy who ends up ratting them out.
Mm-hmm.
But he's the guy when the gang tried to stop him, he shoots his way out.
Yeah.
Okay, that's Tony Farrar. He's sort of like the James Bond of the Philippines. And then there's Charlie Davo, who is Rudy. Yeah. So it's an all-star grade Z little cast, but they're a lot of fun. And so, Roger, what was your take on all this? After I've been doing all the talking.
Well, I think Franklin Browner had some thoughts, but I think he stole the first line from Gala, which is better than the Doberman Gang. Better than the Doberman Gang. However, here, as there, the theme is the same. Crime doesn't pay, nor should it, but it's in the artistry of the heist, the machinations and designs, that we may find deep respect. The joke at the end plays like a Braille button and is equally appreciated. That was the only way I could think of, like not giving away the end.
Yeah, okay, oh, good.
Whenever I think of any movie, I think of like, okay, if I were going to make this, what would it be like? And I was thinking, okay, so somebody comes to me and they say, okay, we want to make a movie about a bunch of blind guys robbing a bank. My first question would be like, how? And how are you going to make that interesting? And like, how is that going to be good? But under the Doberman archetype,
Yeah.
or maybe this was the archetype. Did Doberman come first?
No, Doberman came way before.
Yeah,
this.
way before. It's like 72 or something, right? Or
Yeah.
around then. However, under that archetype, it's so clear. And it suddenly becomes like really like a kind of Hollywood movie. And then
I'm telling you, when it cuts to the bank robbery and the blind guys like actually enter the bank and take their positions, it's thrilling. It's literally like you can't take your eyes off the screen, and you almost are holding your breath.
But I also like the fact that this movie is like the Doberman Gang. There is no real victory in the end. Crime doesn't pay, and it may not pay with like a little joke at the end, but it just doesn't pay. and that's exactly what makes it a Hollywood movie.
Frankly, I kind of wish it did.
But that's what allows you as an audience to have fun with what are effectively criminals.
Gala, what was your take on Blind Rage?
Okay, now we're talking. This movie, I haven't felt that way about this movie since The One-Armed Executioner. Honestly, I love it.
I knew.
Well, good.
I knew right away. I knew right away. This is like Gala's.
No, but also Roger was really loving the movie when we watched it. He was being a bit demure on the. I'm like sputtering around like a chicken talking about how good it is, and he's just kind of biting his tongue a little bit.
You were doing a fine job representing the movie.
I've been waiting for somebody to chime in about how much fun this is.
I've been chomping at the bit like a Doberman to get in on this conversation because this movie, first off, has one of my favorite lines maybe of any movie ever. It's going down at the International House of Pancakes.
Oh, I love that. That's great. No,
the cop.
We played it back a couple of times. It's all going down at the International House of Pancakes.
Which, by the way, they show from like multiple angles and multiple locations throughout the movie. Yeah. It was great.
With that brown little coffee pot, always like in the middle of the counter.
And again, there's another example of LA being a character.
At a big kung fu fight on the top of the building that has like the
IHOP.
The
IHOP side completely parallel with the horizon.
Yeah, because if you're not in the IHOP or in the parking lot of the IHOP or across the street from the IHOP, you're next door to the IHOP on the roof.
Yeah, in a kung fu fight.
In a kung fu fight.
Look,
and by the way, I was rooting for Charlie Davo to win that fight against Jesse Crowder. I'm just saying. As much as I like Big Fred.
Look, this movie, it's like the Doberman Gang, but the Doberman Gang does not, in my opinion, hold a candle to this movie. I love this movie. The premise of like these blind guys going to rob a bank. How are they going to do it? They pull it off. It's awesome. I love the crewing up scene and like the way that they became blind. They all have such.
I only wish that they had shown how the guy who got gored by the bull got blind.
Yeah,
I understand.
They didn't have the money for that.
I understand that was the problem, but I just wish that I could have seen him getting hit in the face by a bull, or something like that. Because like the fact that the two of the guys didn't get little moments.
That was a drag.
Because I love those as you do.
Yeah, but it was so cool, like seeing how they got blind. How they all had such unique backstories.
The Matador was one of my favorite guys. Too.
Yeah,
the guy with the Fu Manchu mustache.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Good,
and I also, a scene that you guys didn't bring up was the drill torture scene.
Oh my Lord!
Where it's this guy's okay. So for the viewers at home,
that was horrible.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Unbelievable.
It was awesome
in a movie
that is
bursting to the seams with popping eyeballs. That was the most horrific of the popping eyeball scenes.
I think that was the one where I was like, oh, God.
No, that was the one I was like, oh, they're stretching it out, too.
Yeah. So for you guys that like at home, just so you know, there's like a guy laying down and his head is like secured in with what looks like
a vice or something.
It's a vice, but it looks like it also could be electrocuting him at some point, maybe in the future.
For fun.
And then all of a sudden there's like this drill and they're going to drill on him. It is so just gross. They even have like cool little touches where they're synchronizing their Braille watches.
Those Braille watches were so cool.
I didn't know that Braille watches were a thing. This movie actually taught me something about something that exists.
Well, it taught me that 3 straight lines, like a Roman numeral 3 is 12 noon on a Braille watch. Or not 12 noon, but the 12 symbol.
12, yeah.
Which I was interesting. And so I was like actually looking at the Braille stuff on it. And I was thinking they must have done some kind of deal with like a Braille watch company or some watch company that did Braille watches, because suddenly we had all these like product shots which I loved. Usually I'm like they're showing off a product.
Omega, yeah.
But that was like, whoa. I'd never seen it. I'd never seen that before.
I didn't even know those existed.
I want one.
They're really cool. And I love that this movie actually taught me something that I didn't know was real. And like, here it is. Here's an actual product that people who are blind can use. The heist scene is rad. Okay, there's shoes.
Well, I have to say, look, when I was describing how I got excited during the heist scene, I was looking at you, and you were like, yeah.
And you're looking at me, and I'm like,
yeah.
But because even like that shot, that one long shot, that epic shot, was so good. The heist almost became irrelevant to me, as good as it is. That shot is so great.
Yeah, well, it's not about the shot. It was like just to see the blind guys now operating with real people and trying to pull off the fact that they're not blind, that they're sighted.
What makes that heist good?
And the fact that it actually works.
What makes that heist so great is just how suddenly balls out violent it becomes, and how they just start shooting people.
Well,
whoa.
I also like love their gadgets that they have, like the shoes that make the clicks, so that they know not to shoot each other. It's such a cool concept because your senses are heightened, so you know not to shoot it. Now, when he shoots like the bank teller or the girl that just rotates her chair, he shoots her and then he says, "Sorry, don't move."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I love how he apologizes to her for shooting.
Well, Leo Fogg looks like he's supposed to be the most sympathetic of the group. Right? He wrote the script.
He wrote the script. So
and like, let's just talk about really quick how they steal $15 million.
Yeah.
That is such a crazy amount of money for
in
now.
1976.
But in 1976, that is like a crazy amount of money. And these blind guys steal $15 million.
And I don't want to say what happens, but one of the best shots of the movie is an overhead shot that ultimately seals their fate.
Yes.
All right, but it's an amazing shot. But I don't want to. I don't want to talk about it.
And I don't know if I can say this, but the plane explosion is huge. Like that is a huge plane where like it explodes and
they blew up a plane.
They went out and blew up a plane.
They found a plane that they could blow up.
And it gives me exactly what I want out of a plane explosion. A gigantic over the top plane explosion that I can't explain. That's in this like low budget movie.
Yeah. No, we've watched Italian movies where like the cut to a model airplane, the plane explodes. No, this is a real plane that they blew up.
Yeah. Shout out to Tito Soto, who does the music for this film.
Okay, the music in this movie
this music in this movie is phenomenal. Now, for those of you that don't know, Tito Soto is a pioneer of what's called the Manila Sound Movement. And anyone in the Philippines will actually know him as the current president of the Senate.
Oh my God.
Along with the man that is running for vice president right now. So he used to be on a talk show that was really popular, and he was an actor.
Tito Soto?
Yeah, Tito Soto. He was on a talk show. He was an actor. Then he was a musician in this movie. I think he did a few other movies for the music. But yeah, he did Manila Sound. Now he's running for vice president. So shout out to Tito Soto.
Place your vote today.
Well, the Philippines are famous for having movie stars become presidents, and they're also famous, like Fernando Poe Jr., who's in a lot of early Eddie Romero movies. They're famous for having movie stars that become presidents, and they're famous for having movie stars that become presidents. They're all thrown in jail for corruption because of their presidents.
Yeah, we're close to that. We're close to that. We at least got the president actor thing going on here.
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen to Tito Soto. The director, Efren C. Pinon, he also does this really awesome movie that is available on YouTube called The Killing of Satan. It's a 1983 movie. This movie has the most awesome visual effects that you might see. The Killing of Satan.
I'm not that really crazy about big devil movies, so I've always kind of held off seeing that.
You know, I don't think the movie is
because I want to see Devil's Reign with you.
No, that I can see.
I think Blind Rage is like a better movie personally, but there's like one scene in The Killing of Satan where a boulder is falling and a man runs in front of it and the boulder goes and squishes the man, but like his head is sticking out of the dirt and they've dug him in and he looks like he's been squished. It's a really cool thing. So Pinon has like a lot of interesting ideas and he executes them, and Blind Rage, I think, is evident of that.
And also, by the way, it's another movie that could easily be a big Hollywood movie.
And I think
it has a strong structure. Even the ending, which I don't want to give away, plays into a kind of, Hollywood, more introspective ending in some way.
Well, I wouldn't lose I wouldn't lose the robbers. A better version of this movie would follow the robber story. I would get them out of Los Angeles. Yeah. And they get to where they're going, and then wherever can happen. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, like, I want to say this movie should be remade, but I don't want it to be remade because I think it's so great as it is. And I feel like if it was remade as a big Hollywood movie, it would lose
the charm.
Gala, we are
you two watch.
We are right together on this movie, man. We are walking in step. Right.
This movie
where have you been all my life?
My friends are so annoyed with me right now because every time I want to watch a movie, I want to watch like a 70s exploitation movie. And they're like, God, Gala, not again. Like, can we please stop watching a women in prison film? Can we please not watch like a Filipino exploitation film?
And Gala's like, no.
I'm like, oh, this is what I'm watching. Deal with it. Now, D'Urville Martin. Okay. A lot of times he's second to Fred Williamson.
Yeah. He made a career as his sidekick, as a pudgy little comic sidekick.
Yeah, so I was actually really excited to see him as like the lead, and he's top billed on Letterboxd for this. Now, this movie actually caused me to go into like a D'Urville Martin tailspin. I watched 1970s The Watermelon Man, where he plays the bus driver.
Yeah.
I watched 1972's Hammer, where he plays Sonny.
Yeah.
I watched as Criterion calls it, the Black Charlie trilogy. Where he
they call it the Black Charlie trilogy?
The Black Charlie trilogy.
That is what it has been renamed to, yes. But he's Toby. I really like his performance as Toby in those movies. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we, as an audience, probably know him best as the director of Dolomite.
Yeah.
And I loved him in Blind Rage. I just had such a fun time watching this movie. I think everyone should go watch this movie. Please go watch Blind Rage.
One other good D'Urville Martin other film is a movie where he's the sidekick with Billy D. Williams. That's like a black revolutionary polemic called The Final Countdown.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I want to see
Final
that one.
Comedown. The Final Comedown.
Final
that was
Comedown.
also actually released. Roger Corman took out all the politics and added more action and released it later in the mid-'70s as Blast.
Oh, a blast sounds like a blast. So.
Yeah. Well, it was like
Get rid of all that troublesome politics and make the movie good.
Yeah, Alan Arkush was hired. It was right after Hollywood Boulevard. Alan Arkush was hired to take Oscar Williams Jr.'s Final Comedown, lose the political polemic, turn it more into a blaxploitation movie, emphasize Billy D. Williams, and then like shoot 20 extra minutes with D'Urville Martin, all right, to make it a different movie. And so Alan Arkush was happy to do it. He did it. But then I talked to Arkush about it, and he goes, well, I started feeling kind of guilty that, here I am, this young white filmmaker, young hippie kid, going in there and taking this black filmmaker's film and then removing the politics and just adding action. So I called up Oscar Williams, told him what I was planning on, what Roger was planning, told him what I was planning on taking out, what I was planning to add, and then I kind of asked him permission. And Oscar just laughed. Oh, I don't give a shit as long as Roger sends the check. Well, okay then. So if you watch the Blast version, all right, you get even more D'Urville Martin.
Okay, well, I'm going to be watching the Blast version.
We love
now,
D'Urville.
he's also in Sheba Baby, isn't he?
I think he is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's in that one too, but I haven't seen that yet. So that's on my list of movies. If my friends are listening, you're going to be forced to watch these movies with me. So anyway, I watched this on YouTube. It's not sadly available on Amazon to rent, but it's available on YouTube. So go get it while you can.
What's going on, Amazon?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you guys?
Where's Blind Rage?
Well, good. F Amazon. Watch it for free on YouTube.
Yeah. Hopefully the YouTube video is still up so everyone out there can go watch it right now.
Well, Gala, when it comes to Blind Rage, I just happen to have a review from the Video Archives podcast, one of their favorite reviewers, Jim Sheldon.
Oh, great. I'm so excited to hear it.
From his Porno Rag days.
From the Porno Rag.
Yes, from issue January 1981. Blind Rage during the time that it played at the Cameo Theater. That ended up being its Los Angeles debut because it never played first run. So it played at the Cameo Theater, which some people will know, was a flop house for the bums. They showed 4 movies all night long, and then the bums slept there.
And like 4 a.m., the guy comes through with like a pipe.
Get out. Get the hell out. Get the hell out.
Wake up. Show's over.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And then the bums like walk the street for like a couple hours and then
go back in.
Then the theater opens up again. So when there was ever a movie that didn't get a first run theatrical Los Angeles engagement and it played at the Cameo, he would always go to the Cameo to review it.
What other critics were in the audience that day? One must have.
Oh, none.
None. Just Jim Sheldon.
January 30th, 1981. Blind Rage, not to be confused with Death Rage starring Yul Brynner, is a 1978 U.S.-Philippines co-production with a slightly inventive plot, overwhelmed by gooped-up production values, washed-out lensing, all post-synced sound, and a score that sounds like a warped record used for too many porn flicks. And it co-stars those two buddy rubs from the mid-'70s, blaxploitation of farts, Squat, Derville Martin, and Beef Brain Fred Williamson.
Beef Brain.
Ooh.
The unjustly R-rated drama showed up as one quarter of a slight menu at the Baltistic Cameo downtown. Efren C. Pignon directed the Jerry O. Tarzanana Leo Fong script. Minus sex or profanity, the film's 82 minutes are inoffensive but inept. Ostensibly shot in Las Vegas, L.A., Long Beach, Tokyo, Manila, and Hong Kong. F+.
Ooh.
The plus is the...
Yeah. Oh, that's
from him.
That means it's not that bad.
Yeah.
There's
something going on here.
There's something going on. This has something.
I caught a VHS just like Quentin's, which is an MGMA UA. They call it a book or a carton case, I think.
Yeah, well, I guess
it looks like a book
sense.
and a carton.
Yes, and I
More
got
like a book than a carton, I would say, because it opens up like a book.
yeah. So it's a book. I got mine for $17.03.
Oh, so the same one as this one,
the
huh?
same one as that one.
$17.
Hey, that's a good. That's a $17 well spent.
Yeah,
It
that's
is.
a good price.
And shout out to Video Unlimited on Tennessee Avenue in McKaysville, Georgia, 30555, which is where my tape originally came from. So if you bought this or if you rented this tape at Video Unlimited in Georgia, give me a shout out.
Yeah, let us know.
Okay. I've got, mine was from a place called Victory Video, but it doesn't have any address or anything.
Victory Video.
But there's a handwritten thing, please rewind tape. And look at that. MGM, look at the MGMUA.
Oh, yeah.
The inside, for everyone's reference, Quentin has opened up the book VHS and has taken out the VHS and is looking inside the case.
That has the imprint.
Yeah. The plastic
the imprimatur of MGMUA. And by the way, okay, MGMUA, not like Paragon, approximately. All right. This is time. Oh, no, it says approximate screening time as well. It's funny you can't just get this like exactly, but okay. Even according to MGMUA, it's approximately 82 minutes.
Now, Quentin, this was Canon releasing this originally, right?
Yes.
So this is like a Canon film, a Canon pickup.
This is definitely a Canon pickup. Yeah, a Canon pickup is funny because they just released it as like the second and third bill of Grindhouses.
Right.
Okay, so now it's a wartime.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da.
Da, da, da.
You guys, just to warm you guys up, I have a category called Strangest Concept.
Okay.
Which of these three movies do you think has the strangest concept?
Oh, strangest?
Well, it's kind of between Welcome to Blood City and Blind Rage.
I'm going to say Blind Rage. Strangest concept.
Yeah, I think I'll go for Blind Rage as well.
Because, Welcome to Blood City, it's a VR thing, and it's not so strange because we're familiar with...
Pretty fucking strange. Though.
Well, but we're familiar,
Yeah.
technically, with Westworld. So, Blind Rage... Well, I guess Blind Rage, we're familiar with Doberman Gang.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to go with Welcome to Blood City because I feel like it's more likely that 5 blind guys are going to rob a bank than whatever is happening in Welcome to Blood City.
I think I'll go with that, too.
Yeah, I'll buy that.
Okay, so
for
look.
$1.
So this is either the easiest or the hardest award of the day. Best lead actor.
Oh, for me, that's easy. It's Franco Guerrero as Ortega.
It's as Ramon Ortega.
Oh, well, to me, it's Jack Palance.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought I was going to
get a leading actor.
I think he's the lead. Yeah, he's the one. I would actually call Keir Dullea is the leading man per se, but I would say that Jack Palance is also the lead.
His name is just as big on the video box.
I was holding out on Jack Palance so that I could give it to him as best supporting actor.
Oh, you were?
But the truth of the matter is, I see his name right there, number one,
absolutely.
top of the box, and his picture is the biggest.
I mean, look, Keir Dullea is definitely the hero of the movie, but I think they're both the leads.
Yeah, I have to give... I mean, listen, You know how much I adore
It's
Franco
okay
Guerrero.
because I'm going to stick with Franco Guerrero, so
Okay,
he's going to
okay.
win
Yeah.
on my part.
I gotta go to my man Jack.
As long as we keep the Jack Palance performances at this level, then he's going to win every single fucking time.
If he's not gonna get a best supporting actor, if I can't, and I have to. But having said that, Franco Guerrero is my other choice.
I don't think I'm cheating. I don't think I'm cheating.
No, you're not
right.
cheating.
He's not the hero, but he is the lead.
His name is exactly the same size, and also
but
it's
even
on the
in
left.
watching the movie, he's the lead. He's one of the leads.
I was just trying to give it to another actor
I understand.
who I really love.
When it comes to best female lead, I think I have to give it to Layla Hermosa.
Yeah, even though she's dubbed,
Doesn't matter.
her performance
Actually,
shines through strongly.
I had a big conversation once. Me and Daniela ended up having dinner once with Andy McDowell. And so we talked to her about doing Greystoke, where she's dubbed
Oh yeah.
by Glenn Close. And look, as far as she was concerned, it was the worst thing that could ever happen to her.
To be an actress at her level at that point and then to be dubbed by another actor.
Well, she wasn't quite at that level. This was like what really launched her off, so it really made her look really bad. But then I talked to her about Pauline Kael's review, because Pauline Kael actually thought she gave one of the best performances in the movie, and she talked about it, and then she goes, I don't even care if she's dubbed. That's how much I like her performance.
Now, does Jody Kaye count as best actress or best supporting
I think
actress?
she's best supporting actress.
Okay, then I'm going to have to agree with you too. I think that the performance of Layla Hermosa, or is that the character's name or is that her name?
No, that's her name.
It's her name.
Well, I love that name.
Yeah, Layla Hermosa's name in the movie is Sally.
Perfectly normal name.
Thank God it's not Jeff.
Yes, it's
all I
like,
can
yeah,
say.
okay. Layla Hermosa as Sally Brown.
Well, then Layla Hermosa 100% gets best actress from me.
Which means we're not giving it to our girl, to Samantha Eggar.
You can't win them all.
I can't win them all.
I just apologize to Samantha.
Okay.
I apologize to her because it's not her fault, it's the role.
Okay. Now, this actually might be the even more important role. Best supporting actor.
Oh.
With all the blind guys, all the dastardly bastards in One-Armed Executioner.
I know who mine is.
Who's yours?
Who?
Everybody wants to be the king of shit hill, but it ain't that easy.
So Nigel Hogue?
Nigel Hogue, of course. My man as Edwards, the drug kingpin of One-Armed Executioner.
This one was really difficult for me, but I think I'm going to have to give it to the actor that plays Jason for his maniacal laughter.
I think I'm going to go with Leo Fong. I really liked Leo Fong.
Well,
Leo Fong's awesome.
Also, he's
I know who he is and everything.
also as a writer actor.
He wrote the script,
so he's bringing a lot to these. To this movie,
but also. Especially him, I like the way he sold the blind thing in the robbery, especially.
So speaking of Leo Fong, who gets your best screenplay vote? Because mine goes to Leo Fong.
I was ready to say, well, I'm
mine does too, and the only reason.
Okay, well, Welcome to Blood City would absolutely win in a walk if the third act was better.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
All right, but it's the script that could have been great.
And frankly, the One-Armed Executioner, for as much as I love the screenplay, in the end, it has that little bit of a sloggy moment and a little bit of what. I mean, it's not a misstep; it's a very intentional step. But Blind Rage is the better screenplay.
Blind Rage, no. Leo Fong absolutely wins for Blind Rage. Best director, or dare I even ask?
Well, I'm going to say Bobby Suarez.
I'm saying Bobby Suarez.
To me, it's Bobby Suarez.
It's a sweep. It's a sweep.
Bobby Suarez.
I'm glad.
That's why I said, dare I say ask?
Yeah.
And dare I say ask Best Picture?
Oh.
Well, the One-Armed Executioner.
Well,
for me, it's the One-Armed Executioner.
Well, to me, it's the One-Armed Executioner, but Blind Rage is like just right there.
Okay, look, I love the One-Armed Executioner. Like, supporting actress for me is totally Jody Kaye.
Totally Jody Kaye.
But Blind Rage has it for me for Best Picture. It was the one I most enjoyed. I think I could watch both of these movies just over and over again.
These
Blind
are totally.
Rage.
If ever there was a week where there's 2 Gala movies, this was the week.
Mm-hmm. I understand.
This is totally her taste. Like One-Armed
I feel like on
Executioner
like a
and Blind
Wednesday,
Rage.
I could want like One-Armed Executioner. On a Friday, I could want Blind Rage. It could like go back and forth.
I think there's an aspect that you can hit. The Blind Rage is just ever slightly more fun, as fun as One-Armed Executioner is, Blind Rage is just slightly more fun, at least for a second.
One-Armed Executioner is also really painful to watch.
Yes.
It's really a hard movie to watch in some moments because these people that you love, which is part of the formula.
Yeah.
The people that you absolutely love are being destroyed in front of you.
Oh, both movies are just so good.
I don't know how. If somebody had come to me and said Blind Rage, I would have probably like, oh God, truly, I got to figure that puzzle out. Mm-hmm. I mean, the screenplay for it is super, super tight.
Yeah.
And the movie is made with all the confidence of like a big mainstream A-plus movie.
And so, Roger, would your favorite shot be the shot of in Blind Rage?
Favorite shot would be that one because that was the moment where I had like an aha moment watching that, where suddenly, I've been watching this whole kind of training session, and then suddenly it was like a sweeping brushstroke.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know, it was like the magnificent pullback or something. It was like this great big move showing what's going to happen, and then boom, we're into it.
I really can't argue with that at all.
It was thrilling, actually. It was thrilling to watch. I had like a little chill.
Best shot, though, I think I'm going to have to give it to the last shot, the last big wide shot of that big spinning bottle thing. All right.
In One-Armed Executioner.
In One-Armed Executioner. When you saw how big the thing was, he had just done his big shooting thing, but the lighting was just kind of perfect at that time, and you saw how big an apparatus that it was. It was just kind of just before they cut out of the scene. But they cut wide on. I go, wow, that's a neat thing they've come up with, and it looks really good.
And someone actually built that.
Yeah.
And like operated it, and they actually... It's kind of crazy.
Well, it's funny because they're doing this like training and everything is kind of reasonable. And then suddenly it escalates into this crazy mechanism that they've built.
Yeah.
I'm going to build this giant like merry-go-round thing that you will use to do target practice. But it's lovely. It's fun.
It's so action film exciting when all of a sudden he can just take his gun and then just shoot all these random shit, just like it always hit his target. Yeah. That is true gun fu. Doing backflips with a gun fu. I mean, it's just so fucking badass.
It's funny. I suspect that Ken Russell's son, what's his name? Toby Russell, probably shied from gung fu because he respects the genre so much, and he wanted to call it, what did he call it? Bloody
heroic bloodshed.
Heroic bloodshed.
Well, you can see already he's romanticizing it.
Yeah, he loves it. He's romanticizing. He's elevating it. He's holding it up. But the fact of the matter is, gung fu is also a loving.
Yes.
Especially
when it's practiced the way Suarez and Guerrero practice it.
Yeah, for sure.
I think my favorite shot has to come from the One-Armed Executioner, where you see his arm after it's been cut off. I just love the twitching with the magazine.
Yeah.
I love that. If it wasn't that, it would probably also be from the One-Armed Executioner of them at the beach kissing in the sunset.
Actually,
as
you know
he's
what? That's a really good, if not close second, almost a first shot because it's captured footage. I mean, I felt
guys, okay. That's when the movie becomes fairly risible, all right? But
no, that's when the movie goes ahead and smears on its emotion. And what makes it work isn't that they're doing it.
Yeah.
What makes it work is that Jody Kay completely sells it. It is real in her eyes and lips. It is. It's real. She's delivering love on screen. I see it.
But still, the hand, when it's gotten cut off, I love it. It's awesome.
We love cut off hands.
I love cut off hands.
I would actually say, though, if I had to pick from Roger talking about the movie, I would pick Roger's third favorite shot is Franco Guerrero's reaction to Anne's death.
I mean, it was... Yeah, his eyes...
where he's like being held back.
Yeah, and the gag in his mouth. Yeah.
It's almost like his face distorts. The camera gets so close to him. It goes into such a close-up, and his eyes are popping out of his head, and it happens and the editing... I'll give it to Best Editor as well. Mm-hmm. I don't know who edited it. I didn't look it up, but I'll
definitely give One-Armed Executioner of Best Editor.
Yeah, because
best editing, best pace.
That scene alone, the way it crescendoed to this moment of just terrible, terrible loss is, that was a great shot. That was a super, super effective shot.
Well, if you haven't gathered it up until now, we enjoyed these three movies a whole bunch.
So much.
We had such a great time, and we're pretty positive, except for a few small groups of you, that you probably have not heard of these three movies before. And so we're very proud to introduce them to you. I'm Quentin Tarantino.
And I'm Roger Avery.
And I'm Gala.
And until the next time, be kind, rewind.
Bye, everyone.
Be seeing you.
The Video Archives podcast is hosted by Quentin Tarantino and Roger Avery and produced by Josh Richmond and Gala Avery. Our engineer is Devin Torrey Bryant, and our executive producers are Colin Anderson and Natalie Muallim. We now have Video Archives merch. Go to podswag.com to see everything we have in stock. Find out more about the show by heading to videoarchivespodcast.com. You can also find us on Twitter at Video Archives and on Instagram at Video Archives Pod.
Have you ever wanted to hear Mick Garris discuss the differences between original source material and the movies they become? Or Joe Russo's favorite gateways into horror? What about author Max Brooks and how he thinks that Minecraft will literally save humanity? Join me, reporter on the beat Gala Avery, as I get to the bottom of these topics on my new show, The Gala Show. In this weekly podcast, guests from Los Angeles and beyond have 30 minutes on the clock to bring whatever topic they want to the mic. So, tune in every Thursday for a new guest with an entirely new topic. The first episode drops October 26th, available wherever you get your podcasts.